Here we are. Hey, that's not how this one starts.
He said it.
We someone finally finished the book and then went on vacation.
For a month.
How the hell did you guys all get into my house?
I don't know.
So, hi guys, I caught up.
Hey, it's Kyle now.
You
There's
have
5
ample
people.
time.
That means there won't be a tie. Hey, book 2, everybody. I don't know if you guys know this. What is it? Anagram? That can't be right. If you put the letters together, it's just war.
Oh.
Words of Radiance. It's the second one in the Stormlight Archive.
Of starts with an O, though.
War. Here we are.
All 5 of us this time.
Yeah.
Kyle is joining us because he wants to be included. He wants to be included. So he read book 1 and book 2, and now the 5 of us are going to talk about it. If you listen to our first episode on Way of Kings, you'll understand that the format is just going to be like a conversation, just 5 friends talking to each other about something they like. If you haven't watched that episode, pause this video, go watch that first. We're probably going to be referencing it a lot, and we could use the analytics.
Can I also just say, when we first talked about doing this and it was like, we got done recording 4 hours, there was this moment of like,
I have so much more to say.
There was so much more to say, but there was also like, dude, people are going to see this and think, no.
I never once thought that. You guys are crazy.
Honestly, I give you props because
it was our best.
You were right. It's like one of the best videos we had for a while.
Legitimately, because I'm a deviant, worthless sack of garbage, I will look at the video length and be like, that's way too short, and not click on it. Not one of ours. I always watch our videos because I love to hear myself talk. Also, to help you paint the picture, viewer at home, listener, Kyle's wearing a shirt that says resting lich face. Just really want to get that out there.
So I read these books a month ago over the course of, 2 weeks?
Just the 2 books.
Just the 2 books. After this, and we're done, I will finish Oathbringer.
Just a slight recap to buttress what Cody was saying. Cody and I'm Scott. We've read all 4 of the books.
Yeah, I should probably introduce
I haven't read any of the Mistborn or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I've read the 4 Stormlight Archive books so far. None of the novellas. So we know more than these others.
Chris, John, and Kyle.
Yes. And without further ado, how do we start this? What do we want to talk about, guys?
We can...
I said without further ado.
I mean, do we want to give it like 10 minutes of non-spoiler-esque stuff, just like how we felt about the book?
No, who cares? If you're listening to this, then you should have read the book by now. Or you're just never going to read it and you're going to...
I'm going to apologize now because, like I said, I read these a month ago and I read them back to back. So there's very little deviation between the 2 books in my head at this point.
I read it again last week. It's fine. I can help us.
That's fine.
I can help us.
I'm just saying, I'm going to mix the 2 up.
My notes won't help us. But I can help us.
Why don't we start at the beginning?
That's a good idea.
And
very good place to start.
I don't understand the reference.
Yeah.
But thank you for contributing, Chris.
So,
Sound of music?
I am excited about the beginning of every book.
The deer.
Because we get to see the same thing happen through everybody's vision.
Mm-hmm.
Whose perspective was it this time, John?
Jasny.
Yeah, Jasny. It was Jasny.
Yeah.
Jasny's my favorite character.
Jasny colon.
Was it Jasny or Jesnica?
It wasn't Jesnica.
Okay. Anyways. So it's through Yasna's perspective.
He knows the name?
How could I forget a woman like that?
I know that reference.
And so what I really like about this, it's like what John said. It's the first prologue chapter of every book shows the events of the feast that incited all of the events that would occur later, but it's the same scene told from different characters' perspectives. So in Book 1, Way of Kings, we see it from Zeth's perspective when he is sent to assassinate the king of Alethkar. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then in Words of Radiance, we see the same scene play out, but from Yasna's perspective, who is Gavilar's daughter, and what she is doing during that feast. And what is she doing during this feast? 2 very important things happen here.
She hired a hitman.
But to do what?
Spy on her sister-in-law.
We find out that this what is the assassin's name? Is
No
it like
idea.
Lynn or Len?
No idea.
The name escapes me, but she's apparently a very famous assassin, and she scratches people's eyes out so that they can't so that people don't know that their eyes were actually burned out.
With a shard blade. Because women aren't supposed to have those. Guys, can we just keep that straight? Let's keep these weapons out of the hands of women.
Liz.
Okay?
Bliss. Thank you, Kyle. And then probably the more important thing that happens is that she falls into Shadesmar.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to be like the first time that she's really not she's certainly had visions of this place, it seems like.
Mhm.
But it seems like the first time she's like,
I'm pretty sure she.
I'm doing this. Like, I can control this.
I'm pretty sure she also meets the Spren.
She meets somebody.
I think you're onto something there, Kyle. I think
Because at the end of it, he salutes her.
Mhm. I think Yasna is because we're talking about Ivory, right?
Yes.
Herspren. I believe he's mentioned in this book, but
Just mentioned. In fact,
Aside from this particular scene, I think if I'm correct, and that is Ivory, this is the only time he's ever seen, because Yasna talks about him like he's in the room, but then she describes he doesn't like us to talk about him.
Shallan gets a brief glimpse of him when she walks into Yasna's rooms later in the book,
Right.
but he disappears. And she's like, he doesn't like when other people are around.
this is a slight spoiler. I know the least about Ivory
No, you don't.
compared to every.
All
I
of
just
the
had
other-
to use context.
No, compared to every other sprint. I
Yeah.
know Syl, obviously. Syl's a character. I don't know anything about Ivory after reading all 4 books.
Yeah, I mean, he's an Inkspren,
Mhm.
and he doesn't get as much characterization as Syl or Pattern.
He also doesn't
even
have the
Wendell.
time.
Yeah, in this book especially, nothing. He was
Well-
apparently impressed by her when she fell in by accident.
Well, and also there's a very important reason why we don't get a lot of time with Ivory is because he is with Yasna, and Yasna's not in most of this book, which we'll get to. But I think this kind of sets up that, book 1 is showing that, the Knights Radiance are returning, the desolation is at hand, who are all these people who are getting these powers? And I think this is kind of implying that Yasna was like one of, if not the first people to bond a Spren. She certainly has a deeper grasp of what's going on than anybody else, except maybe Wit.
I can think of one person that might know more than she does. But regardless,
We're
I love how
10
you're-
minutes into this, and you're already doing this again.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you can cut the pretentious.
it's not pretentious.
It is.
So
It's
no,
ridiculous.
in that event, in this book, Taravangian and Graves both say that Yasna's dad told them he was seeing visions.
Right.
So that must mean he knows quite a lot more than everyone else.
Yes, I think you're right there. I think Taravangian doesn't... It's explicitly stated in his interlude chapter that he knows probably more than anybody else.
I'm in
During
Gavilar.
certain days of
Oh.
the week.
Gavilar, sure. Yeah, sure. Except we don't know what Gavilar knows right now.
Exactly.
So, I know in the next book, because it takes place from Dalinar's perspective, we'll get a prologue from Dalinar. Right?
Wasn't he just like drunk the whole time?
Yes.
I could still see that being a valuable
So
piece.
in Oathbringer, he is the focus character, which means the flashback chapters that happen throughout
Right.
the book are
Yeah.
from his
But
perspective.
we're talking about the dinner scene.
It's not Dalinar's. Dalinar, as far as I know, does not get one because he's just drunk
Yeah,
and passed out the
blacked
entire
out.
Is it from Adolin? Whose
It could be
perspective is it from?
Sadius.
I believe it is from Eshonai's point of view. And
Oh, really?
mhm.
Yeah, 'cause she was
Eshonai
there.
was also at that feast.
Yeah.
She's the one who talks to Yasna at the end.
Yep.
Is she?
Yes.
I thought she was just one. I thought it was just one of the
Elders?
elders. I don't think Eshonai was one of the elders. I could be wrong on that. It's been a while since I've read the book.
She wasn't one of the elders specifically. She calls that out. That's why they didn't kill her.
Okay.
You might be right. She might not have been the one that was talking to Yasna.
Eshonai was at the feast.
Yeah, she was there.
The more books you read, the more you realize everybody was at this feast.
Everybody.
Saying it right now,
Even
just
Sin.
getting it out of the way.
Yes.
I feel like Eshonai is actually best girl.
Eshonai really does a lot to, for lack of a better term, humanize the Parshendi and the listeners. We'll get to it when we get to her. Anything else we want to say about the prologue?
Do we learn anything useful about Shadesmar in this particular visit to it?
I think we just got
Because once
her
again,
glimpse into
she
it.
just falls into the ocean and then forces the surrounding area to turn into a castle representation. And it does try and fight her, doesn't it?
What was Gavilar and Amaram? What was going on there?
What the hell was going on right there?
Oh,
huh?
that is what. So what you're bringing up here, Kyle, is interesting because, and then we'll get to what John's mentioning. Is Yasna like breathes life into a statue to fight for her while she's in Shadesmar, and Zeth mentions that there are only 9 statues of the heralds in the first prologue chapter. He's like, "Where's the 10th?" We figure out where the 10th went.
Okay,
Yasna
so
brought it into.
It
Shadesmar
wasn't
to fight
some
for her.
weird. Okay, so when I first read that, and from Zeth's point of
think-
view, I thought it was a cultural thing. No, it was literally Yasna around.
Even now, bro,
Sorry.
even now, I think if I went back and read every book, or like if I finish Oathbringer and what's the other one, Rhythm of War, I would go back and read this chapter and think, okay,
It's a trip. Seriously, going back to read these. Crazy. The first book, I thought for sure the first book would have had way more, because I thought this one's going to be like more plot dense. There's going to be more stuff happening in this book. And I'm like, I'll probably have like a page of notes. No, that's not the case at all. I had way more notes than with Way of Kings. Man, that's going to be an exciting 10 minutes at the end of the podcast.
John brought up what's going on with Amaram and Gavilar.
Gavilar wanted Amaram to marry Yasna.
Mm-hmm. Because he
Yasna
wants
was
Amaram close.
Yeah. But Yasna was like, ew. Ew, brother. Ew. No, he's uneducated.
So, yes, Yasna sees right through Amaram's facade. And this is implying that, yes, Amaram and Gavilar have their own secret plans going on. I don't know if we know exactly what was going on at this moment. Later on in the book, we see what Amaram's been up to. And it's what him and Gavilar were working on. I think he mentions that explicitly, that this is like Gavilar's plan, what he's working on. But we don't know anything about it right now, but we do know that they were working on it 6 years ago, before anything happened.
And we know that in some way Taravangian is looped into that.
Right. So Gavilar is also conspiring with Taravangian. Are they all conspiring together? Are they all conspiring separately? Is it a mix?
What are their ends?
Mm-hmm.
Also, you mentioned she saw through Amaram's facade. That reminded me, I just want to mention this while I'm thinking about it. I love, this is way deeper into the book. I think it's Adolin says to Kaladin, like, oh yeah, I don't trust Amaram. Nobody's that clean. Nobody's that much of a perfect person. And Kaladin's just like, oh yeah, you think so? He's like, yeah, I trust you.
I got someone
I
on my
loved
side.
Adolin in this book so much. He had the perfect golden retriever energy.
I
the
actually want to talk
entire way
about
through.
Adolin first, I think.
Okay.
Going out of Way of Kings, this is a first read through, Scott. Coming out of Way of Kings into Words of Radiance, Adolin was probably like a B-. I liked him. He wasn't one of my favorites.
He definitely feels like a support to Dalinar.
Sure, absolutely. I also, at the time we were in a D&D campaign, my character took quite a great deal of inspiration from Adolin. I liked that. That was one of the reasons he was a B- and not lower. Because again, he felt like a support character. After he came out of the prison, A+.
Yeah.
You are an A+ character, Adolin, from here on out.
When we were reading through this, John was, reading through this book, and he would like give us updates on where he was, and for the first 4 parts, I think, John's just like, I don't like Adolin. He's too much of a jerk to Kaladin. I'm really not liking him.
He calls him Bridge Boy.
And then I knew the exact moment he would have his face turn for John is when he walks out of the prison with Kaladin. It's such a great scene. Because it just recontextualizes their whole relationship.
There's that scene where they're on the plains just before him and Shallan fall into the chasms. And Adolin, the readers can so blatantly see Adolin is trying.
Desperately
like,
trying.
Kaladin just says some nonsense Kaladin thing, and Adolin's like, yeah.
It could be that.
Yeah.
I'll take that into consideration. And like, Kaladin makes like a snarky quip back to him, and Adolin's just like, oh, that was a good one.
And then like walks off to go hang out with Kaladin's friends.
And he's like laughing with like Lopin drinking water. He's like, oh yeah, that's a good one. What are you? You know?
It further reinforces the idea that I brought up in the last episode that Kaladin is difficult to be friends with.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But there's something that draws people to Kaladin, and despite all of his hangups and all of his rough edges, people still recognize that
he's a man of passion.
I don't really remember when exactly I decided I liked Adolin, but I liked him a lot more in this book than I liked him in Way of Kings.
Mhm.
And I liked him before. I liked the rivalry that was being created in the first two parts of this book.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the arena fight and they became, like, he started trying. I'm like, oh, Adolin, you are adorable. Look at you.
He's like a golden retriever. Who said that?
Like, there was a switch that happened where I was like, you're adorable. Kaladin, come on, man. What are you doing, bro? And then Shallan calls him out for it. I'm like,
It's that obvious. Yeah.
Shallan, you're getting points for me now. One of the scenes that I remember the most was when Bridge 4 is trying to learn to ride horses.
Mhm.
And I can't remember the name of the horse, but Adolin's like, oh, you riding that? Anybody can ride that old thing. How about you ride that big buck over there? And he's like, you know what? I will. I'm gonna do it.
I'll show
Yeah.
you.
And then like he goes over.
Yeah, the horse's name was like Blood Gnasher or something. It was like foreshadowing.
Like, let's just rotate the dial to an 11 real quick. And like, Adolin's like, dude, you didn't have to do that. You don't have to do this. This was a joke. Please don't do it.
If you break your arm, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he gets bucked. And Dalinar comes over and reprimands Kaladin. But Kaladin doesn't snitch on Adolin, even though it would have been so easy for him to do that. I'm like...
Because Kaladin in that scene recognizes, because Adolin said, you don't need to do this. And Kaladin's like, I'm going to do it anyway. And even he recognizes he can't tell Dalinar Adolin told him to, because he's the one who did it on purpose to prove a point and learned his own lesson.
So
I don't ship Shallan and Kaladin. And I don't ship Kaladin and Syl. But if there was anybody I was going to ship...
No, I don't want to live in this world!
Might be Adolin.
Oh, interesting.
A little bit of Kaladin action, you know what I'm saying?
You can't combine their names, it's too similar to Kaladin.
Okay, hold on. Because I've stumbled into some things.
He's thinking about it.
I've stumbled into some
Caleb.
things on the internet
I don't like it.
called Words of Brandon, and this came up. And Sanderson has talked about that.
So this is something
Kaladin.
that it's like it's when Brandon Sanderson like takes questions from the community and just answers them. A lot of times he'll just be like, those answers are coming in a future book, so he'll just be like, read and find out. But sometimes if it's not too important to the plot or it's just like incidental to the world building or the story, he'll answer these kinds of stuff.
Do you guys want the answer to that?
There's a little Callie Alley action.
In all seriousness, I don't necessarily want Kaladin to end up with anybody, but I kind of feel like he needs to, with how he needs somebody to rebound off of.
Mm-hmm. He needs somebody in his life.
He does.
He gets real bad in this book.
Like, I had moments with him. I know this. We just switched gears from Adolin to Kaladin. I had moments that actually dropped my heart when him and Shallan were trauma bonding in the chasm.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no, you can't. He looks so happy, though. And then she mentioned Adolin's name, and I'm like, oh, Kaladin, my poor baby boy.
Because it's like he finally finds somebody who
Gets it.
who's as broken as he is.
Maybe worse.
Yeah, maybe.
And he's like, if she can do it, Why can't I?
Here's my problem with that. I mean, great for Kaladin. I'm glad he can see that message. We're talking about this now. I'm glad he can see that message coming from her.
Back.
But she's lying to herself and everyone else. And he's just like, man, I wish I could smile. And meanwhile, she's just like, no, it didn't happen, actually. All that bad stuff actually didn't happen. I don't remember it. But she does. She absolutely does. And Pattern's like, hey, maybe you should remember this. And you're like, no, it didn't happen. And that's not processing. That is not healthy. And yet, at the very least, something good can come of it.
I'm pretty confident that's the point.
Hey,
Kyle, you're using all of them, man.
Sorry.
I need one.
It's right. I think the reason Shallan is bonded with Pattern and the reason she is a Lightweaver is because her journey through this story is accepting the truth about her life. We see that, that's how the ideals of the Lightweavers work. It seems like they're unique from all the other heralds.
Pattern mentions that you said the words a long time ago. Now you just need to remember.
Mm-hmm. And each ideal that Shallan is supposed... By the way, Shallan's a Knight Radiant, if that wasn't clear.
This is her perspective book.
And...
What?
So the whole point of the Lightweavers is that they're supposed to face these,
Truths about themselves.
these truths about themselves. And like Scott said, she has been hiding these truths from herself, and it's not healthy. And it's probably a detriment to her. And her story is going to be accepting all of the wrong that she has done and learning to live with that.
I'm gonna be honest. Considering what happened, I'm not gonna fault her for trying to run away from that.
Her flashback chapters are pretty rough. they get rough.
I mean, honestly, yeah. Like, we all feel for Kaladin. Hers was so much worse, and the twist that happened at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I agree that it was worse than Kaladin.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Why?
Are you kidding me?
Kaladin was literally a slave in war.
Yeah, I know. Good thing you didn't have to kill his mom
Spoilers.
and dad.
I was gonna say,
We already said there will be spoilers.
killing both of your parents and being the entire reason your family has
She's-
fallen apart.
She sat there and strangled him while singing him a lullaby.
Yeah,
That was pretty rough.
that was brutal.
Oh
I wish
no!
I could do that.
Kaladin didn't have to kill one of his loved ones. No, he just watched all his men die from actions that were not his own.
He did
blames himself.
And this
He did watch his brother die.
This was
He didn't kill his brother though.
That's
The-
true.
Or did he?
the thing with Kaladin there in that though is that
Uh-oh.
Kaladin's whole thing is that he never feels like he's ever going to be good enough and is going to be able to save people. Shallan straight up murdered her parents.
Did she, though?
Why are you
I
saying
mean,
why
we
do
got
you
a
think-
very graphic vision of
Yeah,
her
she-
strangling her father with
she
a...
killed her mom in self-defense, or at least that's what the last flashback looked like.
Or is...
With a shard blade, no less.
Could you not describe that that's what she did to her father as well?
You could.
I mean,
Pattern.
Like her father was going to kill Non-Balat
Yeah.
if she didn't jump in. And I guess we're talking about the Chillon flashbacks.
I was really hoping to
I'm
wait.
sorry. I apologize for this frantic energy. This has been bubbling up inside me, at least,
For the whole
past
month of June.
2 months.
I dove through these books trying to get to this.
It's so interesting seeing the relationship Shallan has with the other members of her family. It seems like despite all of her meekness and all of her timidity, she is like the most proactive and brave person amongst her siblings. It like all of her brothers, except for her oldest brother, Helleran, are just so passive and just accepting of every cruel thing her father does.
We see so many times where, especially Balat, will like, I'm going to stand up to him. And then he just sits back down.
He just wilts.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like when her one brother Jushu, the gambler, when
He's about
his
to be sold off. or-
when they steal him, she's like, "Father, they're going to take him away." And he's like, "That sucks.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have gambled all of
He's
his
a
money away."
stain on the family, anyways.
And then like Non-Balat is like, "I can't do anything." And then his twin brother is like, he shouldn't have got himself into that situation. And like Shallan is the one who like begs for mercy and like gives the creditors
Necklace and the daggers.
yeah, something, and saves his life. And it's like, why is nobody else stepping up for this? I think maybe it's just so obvious now, but maybe that's why Shallan is a Knight Radiant, is because she has this drive in her that even though she has all this darkness that she's having to compel with, she's still trying to help the people around her.
Was it in the first memory or the last memory that I assume it's Pattern was trapped in the box?
I think it's in both.
It was in both?
She says she sees like a glowing coming from, in the very first one. She sees a glowing coming from behind the painting or whatever.
Like a light
Which is
shining
where that
through it.
lockbox or whatever it was. Yeah.
My takeaway on the whole, relationship between that family was they all know, minus Shallan, that her dad killed their mom.
Except that's not what happened.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They all know that's what happened, except Shallan.
And her dad.
And her dad is like, Shallan, you're my precious little baby girl, and I don't want you to kill me, I think.
That certainly feels like it. That's why that part of it feels like I will take on the darkness for this having happened. But also, please don't kill me.
I don't feel like it was the please don't kill me part. I don't feel like there was like a legitimate begging there. I feel like that was a father trying to keep his daughter from the truth of what she just did.
It's possibly that. It could also possibly be that he does view her as dangerous.
Yeah, how
Also,
could you not be afraid after seeing that?
Can we just talk about...
I mean, not to mention, just again to buttress my point, she did kill him.
Yeah.
Which,
I would be afraid.
and
Out of
all the stuff he did for her, taking on all of that blame.
And I just want to appreciate Brandon Sanderson's pacing on the flashbacks alone, because going into this book, this is a Shallan book. We get flashbacks. Shut up, Kyle. We get flashbacks.
I'll get to it in a minute because I'm gonna.
We know that Shallan kills her dad in this. We're gonna get that flashback chapter, but it's right after that you get what drove her dad to be the person he was. Like, you don't know who her dad was before that final flashback chapter where you reveal her killing her mom and whoever the other person was.
Yeah.
Who was that guy?
But it just...
We do get... Go ahead. We do get a brief glimpse into who her father was.
He said, go ahead, then kept talking.
He was the person that I felt for the most. Because to me, at that moment, I was like,
he had to deal with Shallan.
This is why he is who he is. This man battled so much grief and darkness and guilt and just pain, and he tried to take on everything that his daughter was going to have to deal with, and it was too much for him to bear, and he became an awful person because of it.
Now, I question that, actually. Now, not to discredit any of what you're saying, because I think there's 100% of what is going on there contributes to this. But this comes to the thing that Taravangian was talking about. I feel like there's a thing, a very Lovecraftian, that seems to be influencing people, because Taravangian says there is.
There's a lot of proper nouns Taravangian keeps dropping.
Yeah, there's a thing that is like writing a darkness in people, or maybe being the cause of it, to the point that he said that it might be the cause of the thrill. So I'm thinking there is something that drove her father to be the way he is that is more than just everything he had to deal with. I think there was an outside force acting on him additionally to all that.
The whole time, I was imagining her father as angry Scene Bean.
Really? If you just paint him red, I could see it.
I mean, it makes sense that he only made it through one book.
Yeah.
So
It's...
Yeah.
Damn.
He didn't even
It's interesting that you bring that up. I will borrow a phrase from Brandon Sanderson and say, read and find out. Please read book 3.
Please!
Please!
For the love of God! Probably my favorite
I
chapter
would
in
have
any
if
of
you
this
guys hadn't
is in
yelled at
book
me
3.
not to.
But while this is certainly something that he is alluding to, that there are forces like supernatural in the world that are causing people to behave differently. I want his decision, Shallan's father's decision, to take the responsibility of her mother's killing upon himself, because it feels like the one humanizing moment in his whole story.
That part I agree with.
Everything we see in his in the flashback chapters of Shallan are him being cruel and greedy and selfish, and his decision to take blame for his wife's death seems to be the only point where we actually see him do something good.
Even when things get better, he gets the soul caster and he starts making the deposits and getting money.
So much worse.
It just gets worse for him.
Right. His problems are going away.
Exactly.
His money, his reputation is all improving, and yet he's getting worse. So if we take this away, or we ascribe his actions to supernatural forces or ulterior motives because he's afraid of Shallan, we lose just this tiny little glint in an otherwise irredeemable character.
Could it be that this one act of goodness...
Is it even necessary? Like, we're calling it goodness, and from lots of perspectives, it could be. Is it even goodness?
Maybe, at the very least, parental protectiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
He seems to be... Shallan is the one a child of his that he shows any sort of, like, protection towards.
It feels like
care.
a general, like, more moral obligation or responsibility.
But wouldn't he have that obligation to his sons?
Yeah, and there are certain parts with Shallan where, at least her perspective on it, seems to be like, I'm something he owns.
Oh my god.
Not even that he's keeping me safe because if I'm not there, then he has nothing. That kind of thing.
When I was first rereading these notes, what was the guy's name? It's the dude who was the caravan driver.
Oh, yeah.
Bluth.
Yeah,
yes,
Bluth.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
He changed because he saw a picture that Shallan drew of him, which is how Shallan cultivates her power. And when I was glancing through my notes, I caught that one. And at the end of after reading everything, I thought to myself, maybe she is able to change personalities of people. And what if she changed the personality of her father?
Oh, yeah. I thought I was going to talk about this at the end. Okay. So
all that just hit me real fast.
It reminds me of the same, I had this thought thanks to Attack on Titan. When Attack on Titan, spoilers for Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan establishes that memories from the past can influence the people in the present. And then we get a glimpse of this idea that a certain kind of character can see into the future. So with that in mind, couldn't an image from the future change the person they are in the present? Similar to how the person in the past.
Yes.
And I thought, well, if she's able to change Bluth and make him see this better version of himself, what else could she do? What else kind of damage could she do if she saw the worst in someone?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
See, the turn that Bluth has later in the book, I never ascribed to anything supernatural. I just saw her wanting to
believe in a broken man who needed something else to believe in.
I absolutely think that's the case. I'm just putting everything.
This is very interesting.
That is one of the things about people who have the ability to strongly influence someone. Everyone in the world somewhere is going to be influenced by the people they live around. And in instances like this, you have people who especially are in hard times. They need something to latch on to. When you have somebody who can give them an incredibly powerful vision of hope for themselves in the world to come, they will dive into that wholeheartedly.
Man.
I think that's the entire story of all of Shallan's men-at-arms that she meets on
that was gonna be my next example.
That's, yeah. And in moments like immediately following Shallan's mother, I think something similar can happen, where you have somebody whose entire world has basically taken one of the biggest foundational hits they can. And when the people around you care about look at that and see you as a monster, you can't help but feel the same way.
It's like,
And however you see yourself is how you're going to act.
the first sentence of the first Shallan flashback chapter is
The world ended.
The world ended, and it
it
was
was
Shallan's
Shallan's
fault. And
Isn't that interesting?
So, all right.
Shut up with that.
Hold on.
Early.
We'll get to it.
How early can someone be a Radiant?
I think
Lift
she was
is
a Radiant by the beginning of the flashback chapters.
I'm saying.
Lift has been 10 for 3 years, and she's a Radiant.
So, yeah, this is true. So what I'm saying
just
is
like
that
Ash Ketchum.
Pattern noticed something in little baby Shallan, right? Because normally the trope is that when you have a new baby, right? Your priorities are on keeping new baby alive.
Most
right?
of the time.
So then suddenly that becomes Lynn having to just constantly,
Can you just sit? Put your legs down. There we go.
So that goes from Lynn having to put all his attention towards Shallan to Shallan over the years having only his attention and being like his most prized possession and him neglecting the others.
Wait, who was Lynn?
That's the dad.
Oh, that was his name, yep.
Lindavar.
So
Linda Var?
if Shallan from birth has
Isn't that
been a
the-
Radiant, that would explain everything about Lynn's character that by the time we meet him, it is believable to other people that he would kill his wife.
You're like touching on what I'm saying here. Again,
With the Attack on Titan thing.
I don't believe that that's the case. That's just something that I picked up on that I thought, what if that is that kind of thing? Because she always talks about, like, I say always, there are at least 2 or 3 times throughout the book where she's like, he was not the same man before Mom died.
Which is why I had my thought about some kind of an outside force. She saw something holding on to him.
I wonder... So, Kyle, you said something that actually... One thing that's really stuck with me from the first video that we did.
Okay.
Was
I wasn't there. What did I say?
No, I'm sorry. Two thoughts are coming together.
Here we go.
What you said just now about her dad and like this dark force kind of thing acting on it. I feel like, and also talking about the thrill, I want to say it's like this very odium thing, the thrill specifically, because Adolin in that big fight at the end started retching and feeling sick, just like his dad did. The moment his dad fully turned to the ideals and the way of kings and all that stuff, the visions. And I feel like the thrill is just like a very direct sign of what odium is. Because the thrill is this powerhouse killing machine ability that you have that just allows you to slaughter a whole room.
It's
Like
almost-
Anakin. Anakin probably had the thrill.
What is it? I'm going to ask a somewhat
hold on,
important
hold on.
question.
Let me-
Before we move on from this, what is it about the thrill that lets you do that?
It makes you enjoy it.
Is that what you think?
Well, that's
feels
definitely
like-
what
I'm
I
just
was.
asking questions.
That's definitely what I got from Sadius.
What?
We'll talk about Sadius.
And for a large parts of before Dalinar really comes into his own doing Dalinar stuff, and for maybe parts of Adolin,
I don't remember what I was going to say anymore.
it's this almost joy in battle. There's just what is the word?
Ecstasy?
Yeah, almost. They put you almost in a trance,
Sure.
right? That's what it sounds like to me every time they talk about the thrill.
And what's interesting about the thrill is, in the first book, it very much just seemed like
An Alethi thing.
it seemed like a berserker rage. It was internal. But now we're starting to think, oh, maybe it's an external force being applied on people.
Because Teravantian talks about make notes of any of the Vadens who experienced it. And up until this point, we've only talked about it being an Alethi thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
Very interesting.
That's why I think something might have latched on to Lynn after Shallan's mother's death.
I gotta say, guys, I love this theory that Shallan is either directly or indirectly influencing people's personalities for good or ill.
I'm taking credit.
I mean, absolutely she is.
Maybe
I have it in my notes.
I don't know that it's supernatural, though.
maybe her mother was right.
I don't know if it's supernatural, and to be a contrarian, I will push back on it for the same reason that I push back on it for giving Lynn ulterior motives for protecting Shallan. It
I think it takes away.
it cheapens some of the decisions that these characters make. It isn't the sacrifice Bluth makes isn't as noble or as heroic if he was being like is supernaturally convinced to do this. But it's really cool to think about. I can't say it's not happening. It's just that I want it to not happen.
I could certainly see it something of much less mind control and more just a little push to get people to go in the direction she's trying to get them.
That's certainly the vibe Bluth gives me when she sees him looking at the paper and is like, he can't read. What is he looking at?
What is? Yeah, yes. This a very similar scene happens in book 3, and it's it ramps up the stakes. But that is the first scene where this happens, where it's like, what is he looking at over there? And it's the picture she drew of him. And I really like the conversation she had with Bluth earlier, prior to the battle, where they're talking about the deserters, and she's like talking about the deserters and like, oh, what's that? And he's like, some men, they just make bad choices in their lives and they can't get away from them. And it's like, oh, I understand this character now. I understand why he is where he is and why he is the way he is. And it's Bluth.
Oh yeah,
it's subtle. It's such good writing.
one of the low key best quotes in the book that I found that's not Kaladin.
Sure. He has some bangers.
Specifically Shallan, and she's talking about Vatha.
Vatha.
Okay.
Vatha.
Who to me didn't seem like he was as affected by the things that she did.
Yeah, he seemed like unconvinced.
But
At the very least, a lot more cynical.
Yeah.
the quote is he talking about whatever his name was, I already forgot. Vatha. Thinking these bandits could have easily been him and his men. What separates the heroes from the villains? One speech of the night.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't said a lot, Chris. I'm actually interested in your perspective. Probably a little bit too personal. Maybe we'll cut this. I'm interested in your perspective specifically when it comes to father figures and them being not so great.
Right.
I'm not even joking. Similar to how I think, not necessarily have a more valuable perspective or anything, but I just grok Kaladin so hard. There are moments when Kaladin says things that it gives me chills because it makes me think, did Brandy Sandy just look into my head and see these thoughts? And I'm curious how you feel about Lynn.
Well, he is a stand-in for your stereotypical alcoholic abusive father.
Okay.
Right? He can't control his anger, so he takes it out on everyone else around him. Because while we do not see him directly harm Shallan, he gets so mad at her that he is like, all right, this is your fault. And then proceeds to beat
A maid.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
he still proceeds to be extremely emotionally abusive.
Exactly.
I really love that scene. Because it's
it's
so
bad.
horrible.
It's bad.
because it's so because it's so horrible. Because it's like
Totally agree.
it's like the climax of like his character where I think Shallan had just saved her brother. I think that's what set him off that time.
Yeah.
And he beats this maid to death outside of her room.
I don't think she died, but she was like
within an inch of her
mangled,
life.
Yeah.
And he walks into Shallan's room like covered in blood, and he's like, I want you to know, I would never hurt you, Shallan. But sometimes the people here make me so mad because they don't listen. Do you understand?
Dude.
I would never hurt you. And he like tries to hug her.
Blood dripping off his
So
fingers.
the implication for me when I was imagining that scene, because that stuck out for me a lot too. And like
Especially that line
I
where he's
sat
like,
the book down.
Her arm was bending the wrong way or something.
I sat the book down and was like, "Oh my god!" Like the way I read that was like he opened the door, he came in, he took her by the head, was like, you know,
like hugging her.
yeah, and just like holding her, like probably brushing her hair a little bit or something while he's saying this stuff. And like to me, like his voice just was not accurate, but it was trying to be comforting.
Mm-hmm.
And then like she just like turns and glances, and you see just in the doorway the arm bent in like 3 different ways.
Yeah.
And like probably like a little bit of blood staining the carpet or something.
And all she can do is just say, "I know you won't hurt me, Dad. I know." Well, she's,
Why
like,
does she
crying.
know?
Another thing when she's little, I imagine when she gets nervous, like she just takes her like glove hand, because her glove hand was always like the sleeve was always over top of it, but she always just covered her mouth with it almost all the time. I don't know why, but I feel like I remember noticing that and just realizing that's like a nervous tick for her kind of thing.
I like that. I like that call out.
We interrupted you. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Okay.
Bad fathers.
So, but that's Lynn, right?
Right.
But then we also have a different type of father that can be, again, emotionally abusive in a way, and that is the one with way too much expectation
Oh,
of their
Lyra.
child.
Yeah.
So Lyran,
Or even Dalinar.
I have a different thought about Dalinar.
All right.
He's just constantly like,
Chris over here with notes on all the bad
all the
fathers.
dads.
He's got dads on lock, guys. He's got dads on
All
lock.
the bad fathers.
Let's join dad corner real quick.
So yeah, he's pushing Kaladin to be the surgeon that he sees that he can be, right?
The really, I'm sorry to interrupt you slightly. The speaking of pushing Kaladin to be a surgeon, the kind of, I don't want to say malicious, but like not so great thing that I see from that is like he had Kaladin's life planned without Kaladin's consent.
Oh man,
Like,
maybe I
he
don't remember these flashbacks all that
Well, it's
well.
just like they were talking about how you can marry.
I remember
what's her name, Laura.
Yeah, I remember like to a degree, but I didn't feel like it was like fleshed out to a T.
And I think that's normal for parents.
Oh, for
they
sure.
they want they want their children to succeed and have better lives than they had when they were growing up. But Lyran especially has very high expectations.
Yeah,
like
like-
Chris said.
oh hey, you're 10 now, which means that you can now stand next to me and put your hands inside of people's bodies to make sure you learn this stuff. And starting him like Kaladin is very, in his flashbacks that we get in book 1, is very much so carrying the weight of those events with him.
And that could have gone real bad, I feel. Like,
Exactly.
there's that scene
Because
where...
Lyran's expectations are not only high, they're incredibly narrow.
But there's that scene where it went good for him. He's like, the world suddenly got big for Kaladin, where he's like, wait, I'll go to Carbranth. I'll be a surgeon. Oh my gosh. But what if it was, you're gonna make me go to Carbranth? What if I don't want to be a surgeon, Dad? And he's like, well, it's already planned, bud.
I remember what I was gonna say. That
Hell
darkness thing. Thank you. That actually is what sparked it.
You're welcome.
You mentioned in our last episode sorry, Odium, darkness, Shallan's dad. To me, maybe Odium did some sort of corruption thing and like got in there. Kaladin, bro, is all light and all dark. There is no in between. And what you said was he feels like he's at his most right when he's holding a spear. And that he is probably like, he feels less like a good man that's done evil acts, and there's times where he feels more like a bad guy who just tries to do good.
No comment.
So we have angry and abusive. We have
Back to dads.
back to dad. Angry and abusive.
This is my favorite corner.
We have
We keep interrupting it.
obsessive and pushy. Well, pushy, right?
In Lyran.
In Lyran. We have obsessive in Dalinar. But the thing is, because Dalinar is such a good guy, we get to see a dad go above his pitfall, right?
You said a well. You don't think...
Because Dalinar goes on not to great extent, but he does not necessarily claim himself to be a good man. He definitely has faults, some of which he acknowledges. And very similarly to Lyran, he does have very high and very narrow expectations of Adolin, and then almost nothing for Renarin. Renarin almost feels like an
Lost
afterthought.
cause.
Whoa.
I don't know about Lost
I feel like-
Cause.
I feel like that fits the stereotype of just parents in general.
No,
Where, like-
all these parents feel very real.
Right, but the first child, you try so hard to make sure that you do everything right for.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second child, you're like, well, I kind of sorry, dang it, there it goes.
Dang it.
That's the
I kinda-
fourth one.
I kind of messed up. I feel like I did pretty good. That took me a while.
You did pretty
An
good.
hour.
Yeah, that's
Way better
impressive.
than Kyle.
That's probably
This is
longer
gonna
than
be a
any
long-
time in
this
your
is
life.
gonna be a
Honestly,
long
it
podcast.
hurts.
This is gonna
Um,
be a long one.
But no, like, you know, he looks at his second child. He's like, man, I messed up so much with my first kid. Like, we'll figure it out.
And then you kind of never get around to raising the...
Well, the vibe I
second
got
one.
from him, I don't get the... I'm not gonna spoil anything. I don't get the feeling that he didn't try at the very least. He just doesn't get Renarin.
Very true.
He doesn't
I think
get
he's
him,
a different kid.
and also he's
I don't
special.
get him either.
He also
He's-
doesn't
he's-
know what to do with him.
He's special.
That's kind of what I mean.
He's sick, and he can't play with all the big boys like Adolin can. And Dalinar wanted to push him, but he's like, he just can't do it, man. So I guess I just need to stop pushing him, and to his detriment.
See, Dalinar strikes me as
Even Wit sees that.
he was a mechanic. All right, let's paint this picture.
And I think all of this has to, in regards to Renarin, I think all of this has to do with Vorinism.
Yes.
Oh.
So
It is.
Interesting.
he's a mechanic. He is always in the garage working on a car.
When Cody
He-
doesn't want to, sorry, Chris. When Cody doesn't want to accidentally spoil something, I just heard all of it. I heard him go through the layers of. Kyle said bored or something. He's like, interesting.
He's always in the garage working on his car, doing something like that. He will make it to your little league game with a manual, so he can skim through that and be like, "Good one, kid."
What do you think mechanics do?
Honestly, having seen a lot of mechanics on YouTube, there's a lot of manuals.
Yeah.
Scott, hold on. He basically said it all.
Yeah. You
You
think
work
they just-
on cars and you go to Little
You
League.
go to Little League games reading your manual about
Yeah.
working on cars.
He's there for his sons.
There's
in-
one thing you didn't get right. His wife was actually reading the manual too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like a good.
What
woman.
you're saying is he'll make his appearances, but he doesn't have passion for what his
He
sons
is
are
there
doing.
in person, not in presence.
He struggles to connect with them.
Right.
Yeah. So Adolin became the mechanic kid,
Mhm.
so he could bond with his father. But the thing is that I say he's a good man. He has his faults, and he can like see that he has bad in him, and he can approach that. Is that he very much so seems like the meme of, "Are you winning, son?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
like
I can see that.
Yeah, he doesn't get Renarin, but he's still like.
Supports it.
He still
Right.
supports him, and like even when Adolin like goes about and does other things, he's always like, "Yeah, dude, like I'm here for you."
That's very important. I was just about to bring that up. Is not only does Dalinar support Renarin, but Adolin does too.
Yeah,
Right.
for
He's
hard.
Yeah.
always there with him
probably
in the
more so.
training grounds,
Can I just say
helping him with his shards.
the training ground scenes where like dude's just trying to teach Renarin to get comfortable in the outfit. He's like,
Keeps
cool,
falling
great.
off the roof.
He's like, go climb up there? Now jump off. What? Go ahead. Try to land on your head.
Oh, okay, okay, Miles.
And the thing that it is like Renarin
Oh man,
is
Renarin's gonna die.
Oh, you think so?
I'm gonna hate it too. I'm gonna cry.
one of the things I love about Renarin is he's a lot of like the ideas of leadership are put onto Renarin, or at the very least put adjacent to him, that he feels he has to, live up to. But he definitely doesn't feel like a character that is well suited to leading, especially when
Absolutely.
he's like, this authority figure just told me to jump headfirst off a building. I'm not going to question it. They're trying to teach me something.
He's a light eyes,
and he just full sends it.
he's a light eyes that was full on like, Kaladin, sir. Can I be part of Bridge 4, please?
You can't see it, but we're doing the finger thing, like the index
ooh-woo
finger thing.
But,
Ooh-woo.
well, and it's like, how could this guy not feel that way
Next to Dalinar and Adolin.
next to Dalinar and Adolin.
Question.
Well, to
real
slightly
fast.
push back on, it's not that he's not. There's that. I don't know why this rubs me the wrong way. I'm stuttering.
Okay.
It rubs me the wrong way. There's the scene real deep into the book where Dalinar's like, I don't know how anyone can look awkward in Shardplate, but Renarin manages.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's pretty brutal though.
It is.
Like it's funny. Don't get me wrong.
It's a little tough.
There's also a fourth type of father in these books.
A good dad?
I don't
Not
know.
these.
I didn't
books.
say I didn't say that.
Oh.
Didn't say a
One of my
fourth.
favorite side characters.
Zahel?
God.
Zeph?
She
God.
has her own chapter.
Navani.
Yeah, mentioned earlier. Lift.
Live.
Okay.
Lift.
Great father.
Yep.
Great
She's
father.
10 and alone. I can
Died
relate.
before-
I can relate to that.
The father figure in that chapter on top of the one that isn't there.
I mean, if we look at it, Liv's father is the best because he died before he could impart any trauma or bad qualities
I
on
have to
her.
agree.
You ruined my life. How could I ruin your life? I wasn't even there.
Here's
Not even
my
my
only
fault.
thing to add for Dalinar. Dalinar, I think, even though he struggles to connect with Renarin, he still tries.
I gotta be the one to die on the solo.
The thing I
It's Renarin. I gotta be the one.
I'm slowly converting everybody.
the
thing it's Renarin.
to begin with.
the
I
thing
agree with Scott.
I feel like in regards to Dalinar and Renarin is
Because I'm sorry.
go
Chris,
ahead.
Chris. At the end of book 1, when Dalinar thinks he's gonna die, his last thoughts are,
I didn't.
"This is the world I'm leaving Renarin in."
Yeah.
Yeah.
With people like Sadius.
He's gonna get eaten alive.
Like, yeah, he'll have that. Oh man, how does anybody make somebody in Shardplate look bad? But like, at the same time, he's like, dude, it wasn't Navani who he finally got his fling with. It was
My
his
boy.
kid that was gonna still be alive.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like Dalinar's great.
Dalinar is great.
The thing I feel like happened, the reason Dalinar has such a hard time working with and connecting to Renarin comes, I think, entirely from the idea that he believes he's restrained by Vorin culture and doesn't even think to step outside of that.
Renarin thinks he has to be a soldier.
Both of them fall into that trap.
I
Because
feel like-
that's...
Well, I think Dalinar wants him to not be because he knows
Right.
he wouldn't be a good soldier.
But he doesn't know what to do with him outside of that.
Mhm.
Because Dalinar, both of them
That's
are
all
in
Dalinar
this
knows.
box of this is what it means to be a man, but both of them recognize that that's not what's gonna be good for Renarin.
Well, also to buttress that a little bit, there's like the obvious answer is be an ardent. It doesn't even seem that weird for even somebody of high standing. Like that was I can't remember his name, but one of Shallan's brothers was going to be an ardent.
Oh yeah.
The W.
Joaquin.
Joaquin, yeah.
Renarin is
Phoenix?
especially highborn though.
Yeah.
He's like
but,
third
like-
dawn.
I mean, come on. He's
I
the one
understand.
who's like, I want to be a soldier, and everybody
Everyone else
understands,
is like, you're not gonna succeed.
bud, I don't
I'll
know.
support you, man, but there are other things you could do.
The thing is, like, everyone kind of sees it in the method of like, we understand you want to be a soldier and we'll support you, but we really don't want to see you die. Because that's what's gonna happen.
To wrap this up, it is unfortunate that Dalinar is such a great father, just his favorite son is Kaladin.
Yeah.
It is very unfortunate for
And his
everybody.
second, his second favorite child is Yasna.
No.
And
Dalinar's
his
favorite
third is
child.
Shallan.
I was gonna say Shallan is his favorite child, followed by Kaladin, Yasna,
You think-
and then both Adolin.
You think,
Maybe they
like,
tied for fourth.
you know
Adolin
how-
and Renarin tie for 4.
like this whole marriage thing. Like you bet as soon as he finds out Shallan's a Knight Radiant,
Oh, there's no
he's
way
like-
you're getting out of this
he
marriage.
goes up to Adolin and he's like, hey,
You lock that down.
you lock it down. You lock it down tonight.
Let's think about.
Meanwhile, Adolin's like quivering slightly because he's like just killed Sadius. yeah.
So
Last thing about Renarin is, hey, guess what? Renarin's also a Knight Radiant.
that's what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
His Knight Radiant power is like seeing visions or something, or seeing.
It's-
What's it? What's
At
it
the very
called?
least, it sounds like
It's odd. even for Night Radiance.
He could definitely see the future.
Because seeing the future is so anti-Vorianism.
Because the dude in the arena, like, he just made him panic, scream, saying, I didn't do that, and run away.
Yes.
Was that him?
I think it was.
That was the shard blade.
I think that was something else, but when we...
Oh, yeah? What do you think it was, then?
Well,
I'll
I
tell
can
you,
tell
but I'll tell you, but I'll get to...
Like, they reveal
Tell me in a book.
I want to finish with Renarin. Yes, Renarin is a Night Radiant. Renarin is a Truth Watcher.
That's what it was.
And we'll find out. It's hard to understand what Renarin is and what he can do, because even for Truth Watchers, Renarin is special. I won't say any more than that. But also, just like when he tells Dalinar that he is a Truth Watcher, it feels almost like he's coming out of the closet to his dad.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, I have something I need to tell you, and I can't, keep
I've been
it away
using-
from me
I've
any
been
longer.
using tarot
More proud
cards
of
to
you,
find
son.
out the future. I'm sorry.
I've been consuming Stormlight. You can tell that on top of all of the other insecurities Renarin has, it's like, oh, now he also has to be a Night Radiant.
So what are his known powers as a truth
He sees the
watcher?
future. That's what you
It's
know.
just
So-
find out that?
Yeah, that's what we
you
know.
So, going back to what I said about Renarin
I can tell
dying,
you what surges
Yeah.
he controls,
Don't.
but
That's,
it's even debatable about whether he can.
so,
Renarin is a asterisk amongst the Night
since
Radiants.
we're leaving Renarin with this, I just want to say my big plot hook take, and I haven't stopped talking about Adolin. I haven't really stopped talking about Kaladin. There's a very Goku.
Of course not.
This is gonna take me a minute, so please nobody interrupt me.
Okay.
I feel a very Goku Vegeta rivalry vibe between them early on in the book,
Between who?
between Adolin and Kaladin,
Oh, okay.
and they start to come together and work together.
Which one's which?
Huh?
Which one's which?
Dude, I think they're both kind of a cheetah. Power levels.
Goku would never do that to Sadie.
Power levels. They're like a Goku Vegeta thing, but like they both have this light and darkness to them. And I really feel like one of them is going to fall to the wayside, and I kind of think it's Kaladin. And I feel like he's gonna something's gonna happen. His trust so easily was overturned with Amaram, who is
Look,
still
Daddy.
not dead. And every time, and you get him to smile or chuckle every time. I think there's gonna be a falling out because they've kind of grown together and they're like best buds now. There's gonna be a falling out that happens. Probably Shallan. Shallan's probably gonna end up banging Kaladin.
You think so?
I think something's gonna happen there. You know what? It's probably not gonna be Shallan. It's probably gonna be like Vale or something.
Vale would. I don't know if Shallan would.
It's probably going to be something like that, so that Shallan gets the best of both worlds. They find out that they're Eskimo bros now. It causes a rivet between the two of them. What I'm getting at though is Renarin being the Truth Watcher and being able to see visions. That feels like the right person. That's important. Who would then see his death and know it has to happen to give them a martyr to come back together.
Oh,
I-
you think that's... You're making plot...
Predictions.
This is I feel like this is something that happens in book 7.
See,
Okay.
here's the thing that I think is going to happen in the shipping scene. Because,
Shallan's a top.
I mean, Kaladin's a power bottom.
guys, come on. They had their glasses removed reveal.
Oh.
He's hot now. Renerin's going to take Shallan for himself.
Oh, you think Renarin's swooping in?
I'm like, wait, Kaladin doesn't wear glasses?
Dude.
Well, that was a cool reveal though. That Renarin's eyes had healed because he was a search buddy.
Today.
And this is a great segue.
Oh, just like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is a great segue, John,
Big change.
into talking about Kaladin, because you were talking about how you think Kaladin is going to succumb to some darkness, and boy, did we start to see some stuff
Some
in this
darkness.
book, to the point where,
Freaking Moash.
well, we'll get to Moash. Kaladin really frustrated me on this reread.
Oh, yeah.
I love the phrase you kept saying about him.
It was
Is
getting
that
annoying.
he's giving this main character energy in a book that he's not the main character in.
Well, he is the main character, but he's in
He's not that main character, though.
he acts too high above his station. He acts like a main character.
I mean, even Dalinar calls it out.
He does.
Everybody does.
And it's like, what's really frustrating is he becomes a lot more unlikable in this situation. It's hard to understand why, because his life has noticeably improved from the first book.
Yeah.
In the first book, he was a slave
He has
running
more
bridges.
to lose.
Maybe, but I don't know. All of his men are seemingly safe for the most part. They aren't going on bridge runs anymore. He's negotiated with Dalinar for them to be out of combat, only in minimal risk jobs. He's saved them. He saved way more than he ever planned to in the first book. And yet his mood becomes more and more dark. You start to see him brooding on violent thoughts. And like you said, Chris, he starts acting like a main character.
Well, like, I think one of the scenes that first did it was when he hears about Amaram coming back.
This
I'm not
specifically.
saying it. I'm not your whore.
Yes, when I mentioned that he starts brooding on violent thoughts, do you know when you're just like zoned out a little bit and your mind wanders and you just get like fixed on this like loop of thought in your mind and you like work yourself up for no reason about something?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
That's
quick
where-
admission. Everyone at work thinks I'm gonna be some kind of...
You're gonna pop off.
I'm gonna pop off.
Yeah.
Because I do that at work while driving around on a forklift, and I will just be on the forklift shouting at myself.
And
Yeah, that kind of does the job.
So yes, absolutely.
Do you
I
need
connect
my
with that.
psychiatrist's number?
what I mean is, like, Callan will just be walking through camp in a scene, and you'll hear his inner monologue, and he'll just like get fixated on Amaram, and he's like, God, I hate him so much. He's
And
going
then
to pay for what he does.
He
I'm
finds
going.
himself walking to his camp.
Yeah. And like, yeah, he just has such like violent thoughts. He's like, I'm going to stick my spear in his neck. And he's like, no, that's too far away. I'm going to get up close and personal with a knife and just stab him.
I haven't seen this Pornhub video.
And Tef's just like, hey, Gallon, is he all right over there? He's like, oh, sorry, I was miles away.
And there are times where Syl is like, Kaladin, where are you going? And he's like, I could do it, Syl. I could just make it look like the
Yeah.
assassin.
I don't like it when you get like this. changes
I'm
you.
not even pushing back. Absolutely. This is part of the thing I just kind of
That's that
grok.
odium talking in him.
I kind of grok so hard about Kaladin. This is my perspective on it. Those kinds of scenes, those kinds of inner monologues he has, is indicative, and like how it has gotten so much better for him. I was talking with you guys about this before. It has gotten so much better for him, and this is a genuine fear I have in real life. Gonna get pretty personal here. I suffer quite a great deal, I feel, with just not feeling good all the time. And I have this like genuine fear that what if tomorrow everything starts going great? Everything starts going right for me. I'm in like the perfect situation in my life, but then nothing changes. I still just feel the way I do all the time. And that's what Kaladin is to me throughout all of this.
Oh yeah.
Because we see him in the worst he's ever been, and the joke is that he's always been the worst he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
He's always felt like this. And Tien was the one who could be like, hey, look at this rock.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Neat.
that is a rock. No, you know.
It's what breaks him out of that cycle that Cody was talking about. Like, it's what snaps him back into reality.
But cycle is the important word there.
That
It
is.
is.
It's. I didn't like those scenes because I am that way.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like every time I see him start, I'm like, I want to just hit him and get him to stop or focus on someone else because I know where this goes and you're just gonna feel worse, buddy.
Another thing I really like about Kaladin, this is me again reading into it, so who knows what the intention was. He is so good at reading people, and to me, that's like he looks at Shallan once and he's like, I know your whole story. Like in his head.
Yeah.
He thinks he does at the very least.
I was gonna say, Kaladin sucks at reading people.
I'm gonna fully disagree with you. I think he nails it. He nailed her in one. He saw her, he's like, I gotcha. And I'm like, yeah, you do. You do have her, Kaladin. You know
But
what she
then-
is.
But then he did and didn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was
He-
just a lie. When she says she is just lying to herself when she can smile through the pain. That's what I'm saying when it's not healthy. She's not processing it. And he sees that and he's like, you can be happy. She's just that good of a liar. You can be happy despite it. That's what inspires him.
Is that inspiration not valid though?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Like, from his perspective, that's another thing I just really hate about Shallan, is honesty means a great deal to me. And she just so flippantly lies to everyone around her. That's like her whole deal. She's a light weaver.
Yeah.
And there's that scene, and it's so nothing. Even the book makes nothing of it. And I'm just sitting there when Adolin's in prison and she's writing him through, like, the intermediary, and they're flirting with each other. I think, oh, how awkward that would be for that poor guy.
They're talking about the Ardent who is penning the notes.
But
for
she
Adolin.
so casually is like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing some like
Didn't even realize.
doing some clerical work for Sabarial." Meanwhile, she's just staking out this spot that the Ghost Bloods told her to go to.
Real quick, because just call out, because I doubt we'll get to him. I love Sabarial. Sorry.
Oh really? We're not gonna get to him. What are you talking? He's like my favorite High Prince, including Dalinar.
That scene where he's just sitting there in the tent.
and his wife's reading the book.
And like the whole
Mistress.
whole world is going to. This is probably the first time that I use one that's accurate.
So-
it's the time. He just like, see you later, Dalinar.
He like raises the glass.
I feel like he's full on the guy that's like, hey, good luck out there. Finger gun.
Literally, he comes out, everything's going to hell, and Dalinar just looks at him like, what is going on? Smiles like, hey, big storm. He's like, the world is ending. Cool.
Yeah, it is.
Mistress turns a page.
Every scene he's in, he is
Probably
just
reads
hedonism bot. And I love that.
Absolutely. I just imagine Peter Griffin.
That last scene is so ludicrous that I don't know who mentioned it, but it's like, is there something going on with Sabari?
There has to be, man.
It's like a mere mortal can't just act this way.
It's wit level energy.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But also at the
That
same
pipe
time, like,
weed is strong.
I could see him being the guy in like the day after tomorrow kind of world where he's like, I'm not leaving my house. This is all I got. I'm happy here. All right.
Freezes to death.
We're gonna kick back and like you know he's the kind of guy that would like he would freeze to death mid jerk. 100%. That would be him. Who were we talking about?
Kaladin. So Kaladin.
Let's back up about 40 or 50 chapters.
I want to talk about his main character energy in this book because he acts so above his station is how I would describe it. He's captain of Dalinar's guard, which means he has access to the king and the royal family and all of their like inner council meetings. And he will very casually just interrupt Dalinar or the king or anybody, really, to say his 2 cents. And for the most part, Dalinar's like, all right, I trust this guy, and he gives good advice.
I think that's the key thing, was that, like, he would listen for it to be sound. The moment that he said one that wasn't sound, he'd been like, buddy, cut it.
Yeah. Dalinar does come up to him, and he's like, hey, I appreciate your input, but it's like, you've got a chip on your shoulder a mile wide, and it makes you think you're more important than you actually are.
I think that's what it is you're describing it as main character syndrome, but Kaladin, through like at least more than half this book, feels like he is, and I think this is intentional, he is acting more of a character than he has earned.
Yes.
As a character.
Yes.
It's not just like he hasn't earned where he is in his position in life. He hasn't earned to be able to act like this as a character yet throughout the book.
Mm-hmm. There's a scene
That's why it's so irritating.
There's a scene that just encapsulates this so closely for me, where it's when he is escorting Adolin and Shallan to the menagerie in the carriage.
Yeah.
And first of all, he talks with Wit, which the Wit reveal is just great. The conversation that they have is great. But then he's like,
It's my name. People seem to be shouting it a lot.
And so he gets in the carriage with Adolin and Shallan because he's like, I'm a bodyguard. I've got a bodyguard. And like they're like having like this really serious conversation about like the conspiracy that they're doing and planning all of Adolin's duels. And they're not comfortable with Kaladin being there. And Kaladin feels like they're the ones
In the wrong.
in the wrong. Like, he is imposing himself on Adolin and Shallan so forcefully. They wanted to, like, talk in private, but he just forces himself in there. And then he gets upset that they don't want him there.
I'm going to push back on this slightly. I totally agree. He's being a petulant child, but like we see his inner monologue, and it's not like they don't want me here. It's these light eyes see me as a dark eyes.
Yes.
I'm just another dark eyes.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is he puts himself into this situation where he can reinforce his own prejudices. Because he doesn't like Adolin or Shallan at this point, and yet he wants to be around them. He's just a guard.
Honestly, he's looking for more of a reason not to like Shallan.
Yeah,
He goes out of his way to be like, she's planning something. I need to be there to stop her so that she doesn't hurt Adolin.
Was she not?
I mean, she was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He is so laser focused and great. He just saw like who was it?
But he was thinking even more malicious than...
Well, yeah, he's a bodyguard.
But her plan was... Well, now, hold on, back up.
He
What do
sees
you
her and
think?
is like, she is lying through her
She
teeth.
must be an assassin.
And he sees like she is absolutely lying so hard right now. There's no way she's not here to kill Adolin. But of course, that's not the case. But we know she is in fact lying through her teeth. But she's here to save the world, so she thinks.
So, what Scott is saying is that that Kaladin sees everything about a person except their true motivation.
No, not even that. Like, it's just that he expected the worst. He's a bodyguard, at least in that
True.
moment. What is that scene where he is talking about... I can't remember who it is. I might not even be in this book. He sees somebody and it does that exact thing. He just reads them immediately. He's like, okay, I know you.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
But
That's the disconnect you're having. Because he's saying he can...
No,
Okay.
sorry, Chris. My disconnect was trying to figure out what the planning thing was, like what she was actually planning. Whether, like, you were saying that you're reading that she's obviously got some sort of, like, really sketchy thing going on with the Ghost Bloods, or that, like, she's trying to get with Adolin because she wants to save
Well,
her
no,
family.
I'm talking about, like, she's like, but maybe you could send me out on the things. I can go study chasm fiends. And he's like, no, what? You could just bring back a corpse. This is wrong. You're wrong.
She doesn't need to be out there.
What are you planning? And he doesn't say it because he thinks the jig will be up if I call her out.
So, my like little quip to describe Kaladin in this book is he it's probably like the two worst traits you could give somebody to make them annoying. Is he is high ego but low self-esteem. Like he has such a high opinion of himself and then simultaneously thinks he is so bad at everything. It's bizarre, and I kind of thought about this for a long time about why he is this way.
I think it's less that he thinks so highly of himself, it's that he thinks so lowly of everyone else.
Well, not everybody else, but just like Light Eyes.
Right.
And I think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier, where now that his life is no longer in danger constantly, his mind just like has to work in that kind of preset.
That's just PTSD. That's all that is.
Do you think that...
Which he absolutely
say-
has.
We'll say after he killed Shallan's brother, which was also a really big plot twist.
I
thought was
love
great.
that scene.
But after he killed Shallan's brother, like, he was like, no, I'm not going to accept this because I don't want to be a Light Eyes. But there was a part of him that was like, I'm basically better than every other Dark Eyes now.
I don't know, man.
Something like that
Because
happened?
like he is, though, right?
He kind of is.
But to play off like that is more than just being a Light Eyes.
Yeah.
That I think I absolutely agree. He has such a huge ego. I love that. Huge ego, low self-esteem. And
Well,
it's hard not to see how that absolutely happened to him. He is, as far as he can tell, the chosen one. He is the return of the Radiance.
right. And yeah.
But he's not even the first.
He thinks he is.
He doesn't know better.
Well, Syl says, I think Syl mentions that other people are being chosen.
It's starting.
It's starting. But yeah, it's just like, and he's also having to just move around in Light Eye circles more, which is just making this prejudice fester in him more. And I think what it is since he no longer has anything immediate to fight against, and he's stagnating. He's rotting from the inside out because he's like, I need to fight. I need something to fight against. I need something to defend. And he's just doing guard duty. And so his mind just wanders to all of these evil thoughts.
Classic PTSD.
Well, it's like you said this in the first episode that we did, where, what was your cool little quote?
Determined in action, despondent in peace.
It's that.
Mm-hmm. But it's evolving. He's no longer sad in peace. He's now getting angry and jaded and bitter. That's frustrating to see this character that I like so much go through that. It's not that I don't like the writing. The writing is amazing. Seeing him improve but also degrade. It's frustrating to see him go through that.
Is this partly Laren's fault?
Definitely partly.
I mean, sure. I mean, some of it.
In the gumbo that is Kaladin, you could toss in a few ounces of Lirin in there for sure.
I think it's also kind of sad because he's found, like, Bridge 4 has helped him find, like, things to do with his free time. Like, hey, let's test out your powers. Let's see what all you can do. Mm-hmm. And there were very fun and wholesome scenes.
When they, like, invite him out to go drinking. They're like, they recognize
Moash kind of screwed the pooch on that one.
But, like, they recognize that Kaladin
is not okay.
And he needs them to take his mind off stuff.
Another quote he has that really hit me was, like, I can't remember the specifics, but it was in the chapter before this happened, Syl had been like, why didn't you laugh when they told that joke? And he's like, what? He's like, you didn't smile when they told that joke or whatever happened. He's like, oh, I don't know. And then later on, he makes a point to say to the reader, I forced a smile just for Syl's benefit, I guess. Something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And I just feel that hard. I feel that real hard.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like, Syl knows him better than anybody here.
Yeah.
Like, she would know if he's faking that smile.
And we talked about
this. She's still
this,
trying to get it past him. You see, like, he starts to lose trust in Syl a little bit.
Yeah. We talked about this, you and I, Cody, talked about this weeks and weeks ago. I find it hard to believe that when I was talking about reading people, how good I genuinely think he's great at reading a person. I find it so hard to believe that he doesn't have the emotional intelligence to see that he is doing something wrong to Syl. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong, and it's his fault. I refuse to believe that he doesn't see that it's his fault, and yet he still is like, I could do it, Syl. I could go kill Amaram right now.
No, that's it's less a matter of that he doesn't see it, and much more of a matter of you get into patterns of behavior.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a person.
I'm putting all the blame on him, is what I'm saying.
It's just a human thing where it doesn't matter that you have a problem and these actions are going to hurt you. You're going to do them anyway because that's what you've been doing, and it's a habit now, and you don't know the way to break it. And breaking it, even if you want to and you can put effort into it, is very hard. Because even the pain is comfortable. Because it is...
Because it's a feeling.
That's what I was about
It's what you know.
That's what I was getting at with the positive path with Bridge 4. And this loathing hatred that he has and he channels towards Amaram. Mm-hmm. Like, he's all the time, even with all of that other stuff. And, like, he literally learns to fly. And he feels, in that moment,
this
the
is
most
right.
at home he had felt in a long time.
The sky is mine.
And then immediately after, he just starts flying in that direction, thinking, I could just go do this, be back in a moment, and no one would even know.
And Syl mentions that. She's like, the only way she can get him to stop is like, why would you ruin such a beautiful night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that stops it.
By the way, I just want to put in, because I told Cody this when I first got through it, that flying scene, the first flight scene was beautiful.
Yeah.
Just as soon as he started going down the chasm way, before he even figured it out, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen here. And even book 1, as soon as they said, as soon as we got bits of Zeth and then we knew that Kaladin was going to be a Windrunner, and they've said, oh, they can fly, I knew how it was going to happen. I knew it was going to be probably out on the plains somewhere. I didn't know it was going to be in the chasm, but I knew it was going to be a matter of him just testing things because that's how he is. And then all of a sudden he's just going to take off. and then he's gonna be like, and this is how I do it, and the world is perfect again.
Kyle, it happening in the chasm literally is foreshadowed. Did you watch the first video? Because
Yes, I did.
everything happens in the chasm.
Well-
he finds himself and loses himself constantly in the chasm. The
Discovers
chasm,
his sexuality in the
yeah,
chasm.
the chasm makes and breaks Kaladin.
It's a small scene. It's a small part of the scene, but it's really important. Is when he is first learning to channel his powers with Zigzal and Lopin and Rock. He gets a vision down in the chasms. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. He sees into Shadesmar briefly.
Wait, really?
I
What?
think so, yeah.
He mentions seeing a long tunnel of dark clouds with a cold sun at the end of it.
that
And
is Shadesmar.
And that's
Oh,
how
yeah.
Shallan and Yasna have both described Shadesmar.
Huh.
So his
I thought they described it as a sea of glass.
sure, that's what's on the ground, but in the sky is like this
Oh.
dark like funnel cloud that leads to like a
Oh,
very
okay.
dim sun.
Isn't this an interesting thing that I just discovered and I'm about to say to you all? This is your fault that I'm about to say this,
Yay.
Chris.
Congratulations.
He says several times in this
Messed
book,
up.
these chasms are mine.
Yeah.
But then the sky is his.
Yes.
I think the chasms are the wretches.
Mm.
And like that's the dichotomy I'm seeing. When he's flying and the sky is mine, I am here. I'm meant to be here. But when he's down there, that's where the wretch is meant to be. He feels comfortable in both.
He's
And yet
literally
he's scared in the chasms.
he's literally at his lowest.
Yeah.
That's
literally and figuratively.
That's that environmental storytelling right there.
Yes.
With all that in mind, with all that being said, you guys remember how fun it was when Kaladin was a bodyguard? And he's like,
Oh, in the book?
in the book, you guys remember? Sit forward. You guys remember when you guys notice anything interesting about Elhokar?
Elhokar?
Elhokar.
I feel like there's more to him than what's being let on.
I really love that scene with him with Kaladin, and he like, how can I be like you? You're just so good. You're good at everything. Everybody loves you. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about, bud?
Everyone treats me like garbage.
Eliko's like, you think I'm a bad king, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're a rascal? And a brute.
You've had my say and I'll say mine.
No, but like, I think it wasn't that the scene that he realized he's like, oh, this is Dalinar's TN. Wasn't it like around that?
Yeah,
point?
yeah.
Which doesn't feel right to me. I
Don't
don't
think
feel
so?
like it actually is his TN.
Well,
The only thing that makes sense in that argument to me is that is the last piece of Gavilar. For
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
absolutely.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, because he's like, what's the one thing that can stop me, the Black Thorn, from killing everyone and taking the throne for myself? Oh, my little baby brother.
That's your voice for evil Dalinar?
Yep.
Yeah, you're wrong.
He goes from this to this!
All right, what is he for you?
I feel like he keeps the same voice, but he's just more intimidating.
You're more rational.
Gotta say,
All right.
audiobook, great job with Dalinar.
Oh, Michael Kramer and Kate Redding are just
Oh, is that how you did it in 3
incredible.
days?
No, I read much faster than the audiobooks.
Something wrong with you
I
guys.
try to do both at the same time, and I end up reading about 5 pages ahead of the audiobook.
So,
I'm like,
like,
this
well,
just
this
starts
what-
to annoy.
You were telling me this. Why is it on? Why is it on then?
I
It's
don't
just
know.
white noise for him.
It's
You
not-
should
you
just
did it
you should
twice.
just increase the speed of the audiobook.
But then everyone sounds like chipmunks, and I want my deep. I want my strong Dalinar.
It's not that bad.
I bet if you got it like 2 times speed, the Kaladin Shallan roast sessions probably was like just 2 chipmunks fighting in the front yard.
Your mom. Hey, whoa.
I like those boots.
I'm just saying, I love that scene with Elhokar. Maybe think about it.
I do like that scene. That was a good scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's information that he probably could have. There's probably information that was dumped about him that I just did not pick up on. But totally for me, Elhokar feels like what everybody thinks Taravangian is.
Mhm.
Is just this idiot king.
Oh, I see. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of respect.
I don't know that he's an idiot, but he's definitely, he definitely doesn't carry a lot of favor with all of his subjects.
I've been debating whether or not I'll say this because I don't. It's just in the book, and you read it like a month ago, right, John?
It's been a while.
There's no way you're gonna remember this. I'm just gonna say it. In the book, during that scene, Elhokar says, "After you showed up, Kaladin, you scared the shadows away. I was seeing shadows around every corner. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?"
Odium.
Is huh?
There's also a scene in the first book that you may or may not remember where Elhokar and Dalinar are talking, where he says something very similar, where he sees shadows behind
Faces
him in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember us talking about that because it came up while we were talking about Shallan's drawings.
Yep, about how Gaz also mentioned seeing shadows just outside of his view.
Are those two things connected?
It's very cryptic.
Well, if you guys are bringing it up, it is.
So
I will say.
Wait, why do you think that, Kyle?
Because you're being a pretentious ass.
No,
No,
I'm being
there
a
is-
serious person right now. Why do you think that?
If you're gonna bring up that kind of thing.
We want you to think about these things.
Yes.
We're not.
I know.
We're not lauding our knowledge of what comes after over you.
I'm aware.
Well, it sure feels that way.
Yes.
There was, I'll just go ahead and get this out there. There was, when I was re-listening to the video, like, when it came out, I was like, man, I hate you guys.
There are so many pins that I have had to put.
When I'm like, specifically Dalinar, when I'm like, dude, I saw him.
Oh, you don't know
Dalinar.
Dalinar.
Yeah.
You don't know
And
Dalinar.
I'm like, you guys make me not want to read this series anymore. I'm going to, but not because you guys want me to.
So now that you're bringing my attention to it, I think I have a question, but I don't know if I should ask it.
You can ask it.
Ask it, and they'll tell you to
We
put a pen in
may
it.
not answer it.
Okay, Elhokar,
Put a pen in it.
Radiant.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna
Like the shadow thing, like we got that from the very first beginning thing of what.
Oh, dude, what if
Yasna's
there's like
chapter.
another light weaver around that we don't know about?
Well, that's the thing, right? We know Sprin exists in this universe. We know that there are more than one characters. There are several characters, in fact, that seem to be alluding to seeing things at the corners. Like Gaz is talking about, like in the
Seeing
darkness where
things
his
in a
eye
patch.
isn't. He keeps like, nope, okay, it's not there. Elhokar's talking about seeing things in the mirror. Obviously, all of that's pointing to the idea that is he seeing like a Sprin? But what I'm asking is, what does that have to do with Kaladin scaring it away?
Okay, well that sounds
So,
like
the-
that's one of two things. Go ahead and do your John, because I won't remember mine.
Okay.
So,
The cryptic thing. Pattern is specifically afraid of other types of Sprin. Like,
Oh, by the way,
What are-
pattern is Shallan spread. I don't think we mentioned that in an hour and a half.
It's not. I don't think that he's afraid of them. I think he just doesn't like them.
I think they don't like him.
well,
That too.
I'll say this just to correct you. It specifically said that Honor Sprin and Cryptics don't get along at all.
Because they're like antitheses
Yeah.
to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Honors and lies.
That being said, it's not like Pattern was all afraid to interfere during the duel while Syl was there.
Right.
But he was also being told to.
Hmm.
They just hate each other.
I mean, what I'm saying is none of that was in text. Pattern didn't like air a grievance with Shallan.
Yeah.
If that were the case, I'll be honest, I'm asking questions I don't know the answer to.
So it could very easily be that cryptics just don't like that Kaladin's there.
So you're supposing that these are Cryptics.
It's very possible because
But
it
also-
sounds somewhat similar to things that Shallan might feel like, or at the very least, sounds somewhat similar to it. Or we come into those proper nouns that Teravangian's talking about.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because we know that whatever that is follows around, or either causes or follows around the thrill. And we know
I can just
It's
drop
looking-
the proper noun. The proper noun he used for that was Nurgle.
I
Yeah,
don't think that's right.
Yeah, it's
it is.
Nergaul.
It is because of the very small overlap between the our Stormlight Archives and 40K fandom that comes up.
He talks about Nurgle moving and the thrill going with him.
Yep, that's exactly what I mean.
There's also one of Dalinar's visions where as much as I joke about everything being odium, obviously I don't freaking know. But in one of Dalinar's visions, they specifically hinted at. Tell me I butcher this name.
You're doing great.
Ya'anat.
Ja'anat.
Sha'anat.
Oh, it's
I
an
say
actual
Sha'anat.
J.
I say Sha'anat.
Oh, okay, so it's not a silent S.
I don't know. That's how I say it.
You read the audiobook, you tell me.
They say Ja'anat.
Okay. But that it corrupts Spren or just makes them act differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what if these are supposed to be cryptics, but, like, they're just not
Wrong.
themselves?
They're corrupted. And,
Yeah.
and so that's
Cryptics.
interesting because Syl is an otter spren, which is like the closest piece to like Tanavast or the Almighty as you can get. It's like a manifestation of his power. So it would make sense that if these are corrupted spren, like corrupted by odium, that they would be afraid of honor,
Mm-hmm.
honor's presence.
Honor's power.
Sure. I don't know if that's the answer. This is just me speculating.
Also, while we're just talking about Spren, Pattern said something early on. Oh no, it wasn't that early on. In real deep into the book, Pattern says most Spren have a purpose, and that made me think, like the way he said it was, like I just said it, most Spren have a purpose, and I'm like, well, with that in mind, he's either suggesting that their purpose is to show up when wind is there. Is he saying that there's some? It's just getting into what I was talking about and what Syl was talking about. Do wind Spren
Make
cause
the wind.
wind or are drawn to it?
Mm-hmm.
If they have a purpose, what's the purpose of being drawn to it? And that just got me thinking about that. Like, we're talking about Spren, like I said, and that was one of my notes.
For sure, like the Spren are the most like ambiguous thing about the story. Like, what are they? Why are they there? What are they doing? I don't have any.
Why do people seem not so bothered about it?
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, I can understand that. Like, I don't remark on the clouds in the sky.
Maybe I'm just
Why do these clouds move?
a boy at heart.
Yeah,
You
I think
grow
it's
up
just they're just so ubiquitous throughout the world that people just understand that they're part of everyday life.
It's not a thing where it's like, oh, those things are weird. Those are everyday
Well,
life.
my problem with that is it's kind of the reason I hate Shallan so. One of the many reasons I hate Shallan so much is then why is she so interested? Like, oh, everybody sees sky eels. Oh, and she's like, but like, oh, look at that drawing of a sky eel. Well, I wonder how it works. And I'm just like, okay,
I
what are
think
we
that's.
talking about?
I think there are just like.
I do that.
I mean, I'm not interested. The presence of clouds doesn't surprise me, but I absolutely understand that there are meteorologists who are really enthused
Well,
by
that's kind of what I'm
clouds.
saying. In this world, why aren't there Spreneuriologists?
I mean, we've
We
got
there
one.
are.
We got
kind of.
literally one.
Well,
There's axes,
no,
but I
three.
think
well, there's people that study too.
Like
but they
the
don't
flame
apparently
people.
not enough that she knows what the hell a sky eel is, or nobody stuck their head in the water to look at that big whale thing.
I love that literally nobody thought to do that with the Xanthid.
And,
Well,
and
they
like they're
also said
acting
that
like
they-
they're so proper. Oh, don't stick your head in the water. Like, what the hell ever? I hated that whole scene. Just stick your head in the water. My God.
Well, first off, the Xanthids are very rare.
That
is
they
true.
they don't see them very often. Which
But
is why
when they do show up, they just follow the boats. You have so many opportunities. Just look at it.
Well, also the sailors are like a superstitious lot, and so
Sure.
they think
Yeah.
that the Xanthid is like a lucky omen, and they
It's
don't
like
want
an
to disturb
albatross. A Xanthid is an albatross.
I guess
to
it's
them.
the opposite.
I compared it a lot to.
Albatrosses
I-
guide you to land, and the Xantha just follows you from the water.
But they're both good omens as long as you don't kill it and it doesn't land on the boat.
I bet they taste delicious.
No, I think they're quite greasy.
There's something else that
What, an albatross?
Yes.
I'm talking about a Xanthid.
there's something else that Pattern says that's excuse my word, cryptic. where he tells
Okay.
Shallan that she is going to kill him.
Yeah.
And Shallan's like, no, I'm not. And he's like,
Still says the same thing.
yes. And well, and Pattern's like,
He
yes,
says, "I
you
will learn-
will.
I will learn what I can from you before you kill me."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm not gonna. She's like, starts at that. I'm not gonna kill you. And he's like, I see patterns.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting?
That's an interesting thing for him to say. It's a little cryptic at the time. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it gets spelled out pretty well in this book.
Yeah.
Which is
From Syl's and Kaladin's perspective.
yeah, from Syl and Kaladin it's spelled out real easily, which is all of the shard plates and the shard plate are dead spren.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know Syl can turn into a shard blade. They say that
Second pattern.
so can Pattern. We know that they can do that. So all of them are there. When Kaladin catches the blade, both he and the guy holding the blade, who's bonded to it, hear something screaming at them saying, "You killed me." Clearly that's still a spren in there, so they don't... Spren are thought form constructs, so they can't die in the same way, and Pattern spells that out.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to die, I wouldn't just disappear. You can't just kill an idea.
And
So
she even. I
something's
love
going
that
on
scene
there.
with Syl where he's like, that makes you guys weird. Like, it's weird that you die and are just gone forever. That's weird.
Right, so all of them are already
If I break
dead.
a rock, it doesn't disappear.
And so Kaladin almost kills the king, and this very nearly kills Syl, and then he reaffirms his second oath, third oath,
Whoa.
and that re-energizes, that brings Syl back. And all of the dead spren...
Much to the Stormfather's chagrin.
Not even chagrin. He hates Kaladin.
Kyle,
I think that's
the Stormfather flat out said that he killed her. Now, whether that was the truth
Yeah,
or not,
he was saying.
He said
he
that.
flat out said she was dead.
He said that, and Syl said, "I was just very close."
Oh, did
I
she?
think the Stormfather was trying to guilt trip Kaladin.
Yeah. The Stormfather hates Kaladin.
Because, like, what's interesting is, like, the Stormfather, he's like a spren. He's a piece of
Honor.
God. But he's also not, like, infallible. Like, he tries to trick Kaladin.
Right.
By basically lying to him, and it's like, it's an odd thing for...
It's not very honorable.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
See-
so here's the thing. He does not like humans.
But
Because...
then at the end, he's so honor bound by these words that
Right.
Dalinar just says, "We're bonded," and he's like, "Who said the words?"
Yeah.
Well, that's not... Oh, what is Dalinar's ideal? He doesn't just
No,
say
he,
that.
he says something of some oath biter thing. Who knows?
Yeah, he says, I will make right the wrongs that I have done.
Sure.
Something like that.
So...
But he's a bondsmith.
Bonds.
right?
That's the one.
So, the Stormfather does not like any humans. Because we know all the Radiants were Searchbinders. We know they bonded to Spren. That's, like, the defining feature of them. We know all the current Spren that were part of the Radiants who... We hear that the Recreants we hear a lot of stuff about that's clearly not accurate because it happened in the foggy past.
But we've seen it. Dalinar saw it.
Dalinar saw it, and is all of the Radiants basically show up and just like drop their spren and leave, and they lose the things that make them special. Sort of, they lose their power, their bond. They stop glowing.
Well, it's the bond that gives them their powers.
Right, it's the bond that gives them their powers. So Kaladin reaffirms the bond by restating the oath and then defending Elhokar.
Mm-hmm.
Which
He didn't restate anything. He said new words.
Well, he said new words. Even though he didn't know what that meant at the time, he was fixated on killing Amaram and very possibly killing Elhokar. And that drove Syl away.
Mm-hmm. But why, though?
Mhm.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And very nearly killed her. Which, in tangent with what we saw from the previous Radiance, and we don't hear anything else about them, they just left. And everyone started fighting over the leftovers. It seems to me like when Radiants go against their oath, that's what kills a spren that has bonded to them.
That seems to be what has been shown to us in this book, at
So,
least.
wait. Is Shallan going to kill Pattern because she decides today's the day I stop lying?
It's
So-
hard to say.
Is that the pattern that Pattern saw?
Well, I wonder if the pattern that, to me, my first thoughts are, this is not the first day there was, what was that day called?
The
day of-
Recreance.
The
the
Recreance,
Recreance, yeah. Maybe all of history's been lost because they burned every book.
Mhm.
So like, what if this isn't the first time that everybody laid down their swords?
Oh, interesting.
And
It's
the only
just been
ones
like
who
a
would know
cycle.
that are the Spren.
Interesting point of note that is very obvious, but I think should be pointed out regardless. If
That's why the Spren know it so well. They know this is going to happen, and they can't stop
the
themselves.
Stormfather hates humans because the last Radiance killed all their Spren when they renounced their oaths for some reason.
We still don't know why they did that.
He's
No.
not dead.
Yes.
So,
Which is probably why he was so hesitant to bond with Dalinar.
But then he just did it.
Mm-hmm.
against his will. Like, he
It
did
seems
not
to be.
want to do that.
But was he who? I think it's implied at the end of this book. He's been the one sending Dalinar visions.
Yeah.
Because he said
To what end, if not to bond?
he
him?
didn't even want to. He just is required to.
I think he was sending Gavilar the visions first, though, right?
That's what it sounds like.
That's what Taravangian
That's what
says.
Taravangian and Graves says.
And then when
I think he says that to Dalinar.
Who, Taravangian?
No, the Stormfather. I think he says that to Dalinar.
I don't remember.
Because Dalinar's like, you sent these to Gavilar as well.
And what's interesting, we bring that up, is
And
because Taravangian mentions this in his interlude chapter. We gotta get to the interlude chapters, guys. He says
You gotta read Book of Ray, guys.
he says unite them.
Yeah.
And it seems like in his own diabolical way that Taravangian is trying to unite Roshar. And to me, I'm like, is he just repeating what Gavilar told him? If Gavilar was receiving visions, does that mean that Gavilar was a potential bondsmith? Or does it mean that Taravangian could have also been a potential bondsmith if he was also receiving visions? Because it certainly seems like he has something. He has some sort of foresight with this diagram. And I never really caught it until this reread, but when he says unite them, is it something he heard Gavilar say, or is it something he heard the Stormfather say? I don't know.
I mean, at the same time, also, I don't think it's a coincidence that the first symbol-headed figures we see are in the presence of
Taravangian. Yeah. Interesting. Is that because he's there? Or is that because Shallan's there?
Bit of both.
It seems like there's more symbol heads that Shallan sees than just Pattern.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
something's
the
odd there.
there were a lot of them. Cryptics were just hanging out there.
There was like 5 of them in the drawing she
Yeah.
makes.
There was even more than that because they were just going about their business in the whatever it's called.
Shades of Mara.
And her seeing them is what got their attention. Like, that's weird.
What are you?
Mm-hmm.
Not a pattern.
That's creepy.
So, do you think, because they talk about cities in Shadesmar,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you think port cities in our world, port cities on Roshar equal where Spren cities are in Shadesmar? And so the cryptic city happens to be in, so it's not like they're attracted to that spot. That spot was made on the real world spot of where their city was, and it's their presence that has
I would say
helped build up
I would say it's
Carbrand.
probably next to it because all the land in Shadesmar is where the
Reversed.
ocean is.
That's why I said
That's what
port
he's saying.
City,
Yeah,
Right.
Port City.
because they'd meet up right there.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
They'd
yeah.
still be a port city on the other side.
But if you
You're making this is a very interesting assumption that you're making, that the Spren would care that their city is on an ocean.
They're drawn to people.
But so yes, but I your emphasis on it being a port city, that they would care about that.
Well, yeah, because Syl says that it takes longer to get there from Shadesmar. Like, all the Spren that you see in the material world have to travel to get wherever it is they manifest from somewhere else in Shadesmar. Because when Kaladin turns her into a Shardblade, he's like, that was instantaneous. She's like, yeah, I was already here. That's why it takes longer.
That's here we go again. Yet another reason I freaking hate Shallan so much. It's just like
Because she said that.
yeah, it's not like it just
It should have taken 10 seconds
It
because
just-
that's what a Shardblade
it just
is.
comes across as lying to the reader to dissuade me from thinking, oh, is that what's happening? Where she says, I need to draw my Shardblade, 10 heartbeats, but it doesn't have to be 10, does it? And then she just summons it. I'm like, okay.
I
well,
thought it was the other way around.
No, because in the first book, she says, here I was armed the whole time, 10 heartbeats away, something along those lines when she's in that situation with
In the alley.
Yasna.
Mm.
But no, it's not that case.
I disagree. For reasons I can't explain right now.
This is I am so confused. You know what I'm talking about, I
Yes.
assume. And I am I made a whole note of it in the moment, the first reread. We'll talk about it.
Yep.
Okay, that makes me question something.
Question away.
So, we know Shallan killed her mother with a Shardblade. Clearly, that wouldn't have been something that went on. So, she had to have had the Shardblade as a child.
I remember seeing that when I first read the book.
Zero way. Hold on. There's zero way she could have gotten a hold of it. A, because she's a woman. B, because literally nobody would let her hold one
That's what I was about to
as
say.
a 6-year-old.
When I first read the book, I'm like, who let this 6-year-old bond a Shardblade?
Was
So-
she 6 when she killed her mom?
I don't know how old she was.
Like somewhere
It was
between
like 7
10
years
or-
ago. I think, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
she's
she's
like
10.
10.
He
So
said 6, so I said 6.
so clearly she had one. We know that people can bond Spren to do that. She did. Clearly she would have been bonded to one. Nobody would have let her bond with one, which means, if I had to guess, she was bonded to a Spren as a child.
That is what Pattern
Says.
seems
Pattern
to apply.
keeps
She's known
saying
her
this.
since she was a child.
Pattern seems to agree with that.
What if her mom was like friends with like the darkness dude?
Nail.
Oh, Nail.
Yeah. Like what if
Well,
there was something
she
going on there?
killed her mom and the partner.
No,
Well,
but
now
what
that
I'm
you've
saying
brought that
is,
up,
like-
this is a question I wrote in my notes that genuinely I'm confused by because there is a lot of details going on that I feel like are unimportant.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I wrote in my
I
notes
wasn't
is,
done.
so
but
who
okay.
was Shallan's
Sorry.
mother's friend, and did he die with her? The
I believe
book
so, yeah.
certainly implies that he's dead, but then Shallan says that he was cut on the arm, but that wasn't a lethal injury. It like goes out of its way to say he had a cut on his arm. That's why there was blood all over
But
the
the
floor.
story was that her dad killed both of them.
But that doesn't change. Like, who the hell was he?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer
I
to
have
this.
no clue.
Okay, hold on.
And why point out? And it's another one of those things that makes me worry. It's just like a misdirect for the reader, because like, oh, there's blood on the floor. It couldn't have been a shard blade.
Hold
But
on.
the reason there was blood on the floor is because he got cut on the arm, and they just go out of their way to say, "Oh, but that wasn't a lethal injury. Don't worry about it."
Mhm.
Okay, hold on. So, Shallan killed people with a shard blade that kind of has to have come from a bonded Spren. That
Implied, but not certain.
fair enough. That shard blade was then kept in a safe.
Well, and she has that line where I think it's when she's recreating the scene with Pattern at the end, and she's like, he put the shard blade in the safe, but it never was in the safe. It's in me, like something like along those lines.
Well, I think what it's implying there is that she's always been bonded to that blade,
Yeah.
and she could recall it at any time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Pattern says he knew her when she was younger.
Mm-hmm.
He says something along the
He
lines
said,
of,
"You will kill me because I've seen the patterns before."
he said something along the lines of, "You said all the words a long time ago.
Right.
What you need to do is reveal truths."
Right.
Does that imply that all Lightweavers do that?
Hold on.
He mentions that the ideals that the Lightweavers say are different from all the other
Right.
schools. What do they call them? Orders.
Orders.
Was there a second Spren? This is gonna. I'm gonna have to jump to a different interlude. The one with Lift. Where we have Wendell, and he's talking about how, even with preparation, the Spren travel over to bond with somebody in such a way that it is going to affect their memories. Patterns is clearly
His memory is still
Foggy.
Yeah, it's
Foggy.
not all there.
Like Sills in the first book.
But
Right.
there's also things that he's choosing to keep.
I don't think his memories are actually foggy.
I think it's
Because-
both.
He's a cryptic. He's a
Lie
lie spread. So why wouldn't he lie about
That's a
that?
slur to call him a lie spread. though.
Exactly.
but
He likes to keep things cryptic.
he doesn't say you will kill me
Seriously,
again.
made the
He just
joke a lot of
says-
times. It's done. It's lost its flavor.
He just says that you will because you've done it before.
Well, he says he sees patterns.
And he sees patterns. He's not, unless he.
This whole
and let's-
conversation has been a pattern, Kyle. I need you to get with the program, my
Yeah.
guy.
I'm getting to the idea, like, what if there was a second Spren that she was bonded to
Before
you
Pat.
be-
before Pattern?
That was a question I was going to bring up. If you can be bonded to multiple Spren.
I
Someone-
can give you an answer to this
Someone who
if you would
I-
like it.
I'm gonna say I think it is possible. And I feel like the person who's going to reveal that to us is actually going to be Adolin.
oh, you
interesting.
think he's bonded to several?
Because my other question is, are you tied down to one order? And I think that's also a no.
Well, I was about to say none of the information that we've seen so far in these first 2 books has dissuades that idea.
Right.
The idea of being able to qualify, quote unquote, for
The-
2 different orders.
The only thing that dissuades it is the fact that our main characters are
All
one.
one.
But I think it's
yeah,
very possible.
You're right. We're never shown an instance where somebody is in 2 different orders. But based on how I think the ideals work, there's nothing that would stop you from being
Okay,
in 2 orders.
depends on the orders.
Well, exactly. There's something
Yeah,
kind of
that's
poetic
fair.
about this idea of
Like-
because they share certain surges.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of an Elf's Caller, which is what Yasna is, and a Lightweaver,
A what?
an Elf's
Elf's
Caller.
Caller.
Else?
Elf's Caller, because they both share soul casting.
Oh, soul casting, yes.
Isn't that kind of poetic and interesting that you could have one Spren from either order?
But do we know what? Because
'Cause
the
there's
the
that
one
one.
thing that would definitely prevent you from ever being in 2 different orders is if their ideals conflicted in some way.
And the question is,
Sure.
like, if they did that, would then they be able to fight Kaladin when he's at super strength? Like, if they fought each other, would he win still? I think he'd win. I think he'd win because he's the best.
He's got main character energy.
main character.
That and like Zeth. So does it explain why Zeth? What was so special about Zeth's blade?
He had one of the honor.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he has an
Which
honor
means-
blade.
That's right.
Which
Honor blades give you the ability to do
I
it.
think honor blades are the blades that the heralds themselves had.
Bingo bango.
Yep.
So
So there's 10 of those lying around.
Yeah.
I think most of them are in Shin.
Yeah.
We actually
He even drops
Actually,
that he
I
was
don't-
training with.
I don't
all
know
of
that
them.
most of them are. I know that some are, but I'm pretty confident they said some of them are just gone.
Well, so this is an interesting little thought experiment we can do. Yes, the honor blades are the blade that the heralds used during the
In
desolations.
that very first scene in the first book, those were the blades they were giving
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And
Which-
so
That means that his voices are in his head. Because there's no
Spren.
Spren when he grabs his blade. It's only his
Yes.
murder victim.
No.
because the honor blades are not like shard blades.
Yeah.
They're
No.
different. And that also means that the heralds were never bonded to any Spren.
And I
Right.
think I'm just gonna say this, even though it's slightly a spoiler. I'm pretty sure. I think Syl just downright says this, or no, it's in the scene with when he gets sword Nemi.
Oh yeah.
Like Nail just says something along the lines of the Spren couldn't do, or maybe it was Syl. Somebody says it in this book. The Spren saw what the
Heralds.
heralds did and emulated it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
They just did what the honor blades did.
okay.
So this is an interesting thing to think about. We don't have to go through it all right now, but have it in the back of your mind. It's 10 honor blades. According to Zeth, all of them originally made it to Shinovar. But Taravangian mentions that some of them have been going missing. So the question is, where are the 10 honor blades? We know Zeth has one of them,
Right.
so there's...
Not anymore.
Well, he did have one.
Yeah.
There should only be 9
Nail?
Because-
Or whatever his name was?
Because I know
Nail has his.
because Talenalot just got there.
Oh, yes, correct. You're right. You're
There should
absolutely
only
right.
be
So
9.
the 10th one Tom had when he was in
Yeah.
Damnation. So they had 9. Zeth took one. Nail has one.
Yeah.
And I
Would we
believe...
be able to answer this right now?
didn't they say
It's just something to think about.
I have no full memory of this, but I feel like Zeth mentioned there were only 3 left in Shinovar.
That does not...
I don't remember how many he
Corroborate
said
with-
there
My
were.
memory was saying 6.
6.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Teravan... I
3
believe,
days.
I believe... I believe Teravangian says that up until recently, the
Took about 3
Shin
days to
had
realize what he
7, and one of them had recently gone missing. And Teravangian speculates that Kaladin has one of them.
But I got the feeling that he was specifically lying to ease. He didn't want to get killed by shit.
True.
Oh,
Zeth.
sure. Yes.
I
I think he's...
Zeth was like about to finish the
And
deal.
I got the feeling Teravangian was like, but one went missing. One went missing. And we don't know where it went. It's probably in Lethkar, actually. In fact, it's probably that guy you saw.
But like, how would that make sense then? Because I would assume it would have the powers of that order.
No,
The
that's what I'm
orders are
saying.
following, or the Sprint are trying to
Emulate
mimic
that.
it.
That's what I'm saying is he deliberately lied. I don't think one did go missing.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, I think one did go missing.
Okay.
I think Teravangian knows that one did go missing. And he is using that to calm Zeth down.
So
I think he knows where it is. I think he's lying to Zeth that it's actually there. But I think one did go missing.
I think Darkness has one.
that's what they said.
Nail. That's Nail.
Oh.
We know that Nail is darkness.
Chris just got giant wide
When
eyes.
did that come out?
When every time they describe darkness, it's the exact description they give Nail.
Why the
Yeah,
hell is
dark
he trying
skin-
to kill Lamb?
Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
That's Chris. That's why I
I thought
said
I had a new dude to be like, okay, sweet, we're gonna
someone who runs down and kills children.
no, I thought-
And cobblers.
I thought we had
And
like
cobblers.
a cool new dude that was going to like take Seth and turn him good. Now I'm just like,
Please.
no.
I know.
So that.
I know they describe.
Yes, thank you.
I know they described like somewhat what he looks like, but I had the way he acts and like how calm, cool, and collected he acts most of the time. I really just imagined a specific skin for Zen Zhao from League of Legends,
Mhm.
the like CIA skin where he just has like this like
Such
black and white
stupid.
business suit with the glasses on, and like he has like instead of a spear there's a sword, but like he has that like some long ponytail kind of thing. I'm just like, I don't know why, but this is exactly who this man is.
My dream casting for him, it's unfortunate that he did pass. My dream casting for Nail is Lance Reddick.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nails it, I think.
Mhm.
Hey, pun intended.
I think I know another.
Okay.
Wit.
Oh, you think Wit
Oh,
had
think
it?
you think
Wit
he
has it.
okay.
Because
He did leave.
He went to go do something.
he I mean, like he knows things he it seems like he shouldn't. He apparently has been around for a while.
Mhm.
And so I
And a lot of this is very implied.
yeah. But then like a part of it is like I've been thinking like he's one of the 10 fools,
Mhm.
right? He's
I love
cursed.
that. I love that idea.
He's cursed to like be in the land forever until it's gone. And so he's like a herald, but he doesn't have the powers. So a part of it,
He explicitly tells Kaladin, I am not a herald.
yeah,
But Zeth is not a herald, and he has an honor blade.
exactly. So if he stole an honor blade, specifically whoever is the one at like telling the future, he would know everything then. So he would be the herald that Renarin is based off of.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that point.
I don't know everything about Wit. I know Wit is a lot bigger of a character than he lets on. But I think Wit is powerful enough that he would not need an honor blade or a shard blade. So I don't think Wit has it.
Okay.
Another interesting thought that came to me, this is on the first read I had this thought, but then the book was so amazing that I just kind of forgot about it. If the shard blades if the Spren, who you're bonded to, can be whatever weapon you will them to be, why are they only blades? I get, like, that explains why they all look different, but why are all the shard spears and the shard bow and arrows?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're dead. They
But-
can't change their. You can't.
No, what I'm saying is,
Why
during
didn't
the
they-
recreance, why weren't you using a shard spear? Why was it all shard blades?
Because that's all people remember.
I wonder.
Mm,
Because
now
all
that's-
we've
so-
got that we know about is shard blades, which is the form they take right now. So like,
What I'm saying is, what if Kaladin is holding Sill Spear
mhm.
and is like, I renounce you? Does she become a shard blade?
Does she stay a spear? That's what he's asking.
I'm gonna guess
Oh.
that is. She naturally turned into a shard blade before she was like, "Oh yeah, wait, you're a spear guy. Sorry, my bad."
I think that was more on Kaladin,
Yeah.
though. I think
He
it
was
was his.
expecting
I think
a
his
short
implicit
sword.
thing that he expected it to be a sword.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Which makes it kind of
so
funny that I was trying to use a sword.
to
as well.
me, to me, it's that's the base form for them. That's their most natural
So
form.
I'm asking
I'll agree.
questions I don't know the
Oh.
answer.
they're emulating the honor blades. Of
I
course,
think-
it would be.
Oh, that's an
Sure, that
That
interesting
makes
idea.
sense. That makes
Of
sense.
course, they would be swords because that's what
But
that's
I
what they're
also think
mimicking.
I think one thing that we've talked about numerous times is what pattern said. That, like, you're gonna kill me. I've seen it. This is a pattern. Obviously, this is the story that Brandon Sanderson is telling. This is the time where the pattern gets broken. Whatever happens. So, like,
Otherwise,
the
the
idea
story would
that-
be happening at a different time, is what you're saying.
yeah, the idea that Renarin, like, his powers are different than what they're supposed to be. They're off. There's
Mhm.
something different about them. Like, that tells me that, like, there's hints that, even though it's not straight up hints to us, it's hints to the characters that have the knowledge. I'm going based off of this has happened 10, 11, 12 times before, where finally things are just not going the exact same. They've got the right puzzle pieces that will allow it to happen differently this time.
There's definitely something about this time around that is very different.
I mean, they call it the Everstorm.
And the last desolation,
Okay,
the
so-
final desolation.
They do call it the Final Desolation.
Final Desolation 6.
'Cause and the rest of them, they never say that.
Mm-hmm.
The bit we've had, we talk about the heralds. They know the desolations are the thing that just keep happening.
But the Everstorm is never something
Yeah.
that has ever happened
This is
before.
new.
Yeah.
New territory.
So yeah, just
Oh, not the final. They call it the true
True
desolation.
desolation.
I think the one that the heralds were
They
involved with.
they
was the
refer to
final.
that one.
I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm completely honest, Cody confirmed for me that Wit, obviously, there's way more going on to him.
mm-hmm.
That when and it happened in book 1 when people were looking for him named Hoyd, and I'm like, this is so weird. What is going on? And then you started reading the Mistborn series, and you're like, dude. So like, there's all these different universes, and there's people who can jump between the universes, and that's what this is.
I
fine.
want
Okay.
this.
We're
to
gonna
be-
figure it out anyways.
I want this after we finish these 5 books. We might as well read Mistborn.
The moment
So if you want to read along with us, because you mentioned you were going to read all the Brandy Sandy stuff after this.
I mean, if I can get a hold of him, yeah.
But what I'm saying
while
is,
I'm waiting on him to finish
if
the
you want
third
to
one.
wait, we will. I absolutely want to read Mistborn. We can do.
No,
that.
I want to be the
So-
condescending prick.
All right, go for it.
okay. Anyways, just
Interesting.
that idea alone tells me that like this is going to turn into a
It's gonna get very big.
game level crossover event.
There's he keeps throwing out around a term at me, where the 4th book in particular gets very Cosmere aware,
Mm-hmm.
which is like saying the 4th book is kind of like the Civil War. Civil War was great in Marvel, but that's the one where you really feel it. All these different movies that have different characters, all of them matter, and they are characters in this one.
And you have all
I'm
the
losing
heroes.
character for not having seen those movies in
Yeah.
before Civil War.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like by the time I got to the 4th book, I'm like, okay, I am missing things now that I would know if I had read his other works.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's really kind of the tipping point, and that's kind of what made me start reading Mistborn. I'm like, okay, they're talking about things
And
that
I don't know what those are.
that I'm not going to be able to figure out from just reading these
How-
books.
What characters have we not talked about that we still want to talk about?
A lot.
We still got
Because missing a lot of
I want to
interludes.
talk about the story itself that was told.
Yes. Yes. So, do we want to do a lightning round through the interludes real quick?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. We'll start with some of the simpler ones.
1 hour later.
Yim, the cobbler.
I love that little guy.
I loved that little guy.
It's interesting. What I like about the Yim chapter is
What I like about Yim, what I like about him, what I like about all the shoes that he...
This is why it's going to be an hour.
Craft
He
did.
did make.
Craft did. Yeah. What I really like about these interlude chapters is they just fill out the world.
And Nail shows up.
Yes, well, and what I like about this is it's pulling double duty. Is it's filling out the world, but it's also driving like some plot because it's very easy to get into this bubble where all of our main characters are the Knights Radiant, and they're the only ones that are running around. But no, actually, all over the continent, people are starting to bond with Spren, and Yim's just a guy. He's just a cobbler. He's like 80 years old, but this Spren took a chance on him, and
Oh,
You're right.
Kyle, language.
and
I just need a muzzle.
I think that's interesting that, yes, all of our focus is over here on the Shattered Plains, but there are other Knights Radiant appearing. And, because Yim appears, the darkness also appears to kill him for some unknown reason at this point.
But Yim had something dark about his history.
Yes.
He'd killed someone.
Yes.
So, okay. Is Nail doing this then to call the knights? Like, only those who are worthy?
I don't think
Call
so.
or call?
Call.
C-U-L?
Cole.
No, because he spells it out to lift.
Yes.
Yeah, if
'cause,
they
like,
don't
A
come
death
back,
sentence is not acceptable for minor burglary of some foodstuffs.
Mhm.
Even he admits that, but he straight up says what you are cannot be allowed to exist.
He is
He's not saying that you should not be allowed to be a knight. He's saying the knights cannot come back.
to me, Nail is like the poster child for lawful evil.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Right.
just
Lawful, maybe lawful neutral.
I would
Lawful
almost
neutral.
argue.
I would say
his acts are his acts are heinous.
Yeah,
So-
if his acts are like the things he does are
He's just
reprehensible in my opinion.
he's just trying to, like, he has a goal that he needs to fulfill, and
But
he
what is
has
the
to
end-
follow the law.
What's the end game?
I don't think there is an end game, but
I think he's trying to prevent the end game.
I think he just thinks he can, if he keeps holding the door shut, it's never going to get in.
So, okay. So the knights are only there to stop desolations. So if there are no knights, then the desolation cannot start.
That's the idea.
So it's been a long time since a desolation.
Mm-hmm.
How many people has Nail killed?
How many people have bonded Spren?
It seems to be that
It's
the
kind of implied that not many
I don't know.
That we know of.
that we know, because like they stopped for a long
What I'm
time.
saying is, what if it's been happening a long time and Nail's an immortal Spren killing machine,
well, what's also
Radiant killing machine?
we've got confounding things here because the Recreants happened after the final desolation,
Right.
which means that there hasn't been any desolations since the massacre of the Spren and the Recreants. But I also think they say that the Spren only started to bond Knights Radiant when the new desolation was about to start, at least back in the old days. So I don't know if anybody was really bonding Spren in the meantime.
I'm saying, what if Nail is correct and that
Oh,
calling the knights stops the desolation from starting?
Well, to push back against
he
that,
certainly
he's-
believes that is
If
correct.
well,
that's
I don't
the case,
know
then
because he's making the Skybreakers.
Well, so yes, this is interesting.
Yeah, you're right, huh?
So I think the Skybreakers they mentioned are the only order that didn't disband at the Recreants.
Also, man, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
Especially, so I get the whole Kaladin Zeth, like, fight thing
Oh, they're
now
gonna
that it
fight
happened.
again.
But, like, it's the Windrunner versus the Skybreaker.
Yeah,
like,
they're gonna
come on,
fight
that's
again.
a
The
freaking
sky
battle.
is his, and he's gonna break it.
Yeah, so maybe maybe if Nail has been killing off all the Knights Radiant that
That makes
appeared,
me think that
and there hasn't been a desolation.
that's why I was thinking Shallan's mother might have been a part of that.
Oh, go ahead.
So then when she sees that there's activity happening for
Oh, and
Shallan,
so she's like
So-
working with Nail, is what you're
exactly.
saying.
I see. Gotcha.
And it's like, oh, I can handle this one, even though it's my daughter. I can handle this one. I don't need to involve.
Well, maybe
Nail.
that's why she brought Nail in. If that was the friend who got hurt,
I don't think.
Assuming he, I don't know.
Does he bleed?
I think he matches the description. I think they said he was dark skinned.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh wait, is
I don't
Nail?
remember.
Is my memory just terrible? Did you guys just let me describe how I think of Nail as an Asian white guy?
I didn't even know.
I know
who
you didn't
that
know
guy
who
was.
that
I've always thought Nail looked like Isaac from Castlevania.
Oh,
They,
But
he's
he's
dark
actually-
skinned with like
Oh.
a pale birthmark under.
that's crazy, dude.
Which it's very important that you remember that description. A man with that description is also mentioned at Gavilar's feast in the prologues.
Interesting.
He was also there, guys.
Put a pin in it.
you know what? When I get to read,
Probably to kill Gavilar.
Mm.
And then Seth beat him to it, and he's like,
when I
gotta
get
keep
to
an eye on
read
this guy.
Dalinar's point of view in book 7, I'll keep an eye out for it.
Sure thing. So what's up with Nail? I think he's leading the Skybreakers to kill off the rest of the Knights Radiant. I think that's why he's doing this.
It's also interesting that like he is the only one that's actively leading his squad,
Mm-hmm.
like the ones that were tailored
Are
after
the
him.
rest of the heralds left?
Well, they're immortals.
Yeah,
they have to be
can't.
somewhere.
They can't die.
Could
If they
be-
do die, they
could
go
be
to
They go to
killed?
Braze. They
Well,
do.
they certainly could be killed.
When you die, when the heralds die,
So they can't be dead because they would have.
Sadius
Town
was a herald.
in that first
Yeah.
scene, Town was the only one who died, and all the rest of the 9 were like, he's never broke before.
Maybe you can just hold it back
Imagine
forever.
Imagine being a herald and dying right after a desolation.
Imagine
starts.
being named Herald.
What? How? Let me spit at you.
Imagine
Okay.
being a herald.
Let me
and then-
Spit at you.
Let me spin this yarn. What if a herald can kill a herald?
And then
For
that's
good.
Oh,
What if Nail
That's a
killed
herald on
the
herald
other
crime.
heralds because he thought that could stop the other knights from forming?
You're allowed to think whatever you want. No.
Oh, okay.
Also,
There's
I
nothing-
feel like that would be counteractive because then they go to the
No, I'm
hall or
saying.
whatever where
What
they're
if a
being
herald
tortured
could
until
kill
they
a
finally
herald
break.
for good?
no, yeah. So
Oh.
like
That's what I was saying.
whatever,
Okay.
whatever,
Scott,
whatever.
he
He shut that
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
There's no precedence for that. I like your line of thinking, but if that were the case, why is he killing these Knights Radiant?
Why
Go
wouldn't he just kill
other
the heralds?
No, I'm saying the reason we haven't met any of them yet is because he
Haven't
already
you?
has.
I have a feeling we
As far as
have.
I know.
I have a feeling we have.
Here's
Here's the thing. I have a feeling we have
Which one of the heralds is hedonism?
because of the amount of pins that they told us to freaking put in it.
Put a pin in that.
I'm gonna say that we.
I'm all up pens.
I'm gonna say we probably met like 4 or 5 of them,
All right. Okay.
Um,
and I'm gonna say it's probably some random ass douchebag that's just been like slightly described
Maybe
in the middle of the street.
maybe it's
It's the blue guy.
Yeah, the blue guy.
Put a pin in that.
okay. Who else do we? Rissyn. Rissyn was also
I
in the
love
chapter.
Rissyn.
Best girl.
Yeah. She can have Kaladin.
Oh,
Whoa. All right.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
She's taken
Is she?
by me.
Oh.
very.
Hold on. So you're calling God the Amorous?
It's a polyamorous situation.
Hey. You're gonna be a gray bottom.
All right.
I feel like you're a middle.
I'll take it.
I don't know. I don't know after her
see.
chapter if Rissyn's doing anything to bother me.
Poor Risen. Poor Risen. Poor Risen. You know?
Take this whole one away
She
from me.
has
'Cause
a-
I don't remember this interlude
She has
at
a
all.
potted plant
Her-
and now a big bug.
Her Babsk basically cons her into being the leader of this, like the taking the lead for this trade. He's like pretending to be sick. Oh, I'm on my death's door, that kind of thing. And then she goes to like the king or whatever of this
The
turtle,
islands. Yeah.
the big turtle that moves, and
It's a
everybody's
crab.
naked. And she's like, why are everybody so naked? Oh my god, this is disgusting. And
I
then
bet you there was a herald there.
who knows?
Axes was there.
Axis was there.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was hanging upside down.
He had been in prison.
That's what I was saying. The blue guy.
And the trade's falling apart, but we know she's like, oh no, I can't let this one final test fail. But that was the test for her to realize, you can't win them all, that kind of thing.
They value boldness, so there's only one person above the king,
And that's the god
Yeah.
of the island.
That's the turtle crab we live on.
Let's talk to him. Swing from a vine.
So she just hangs down there and then falls, and it says the spren slow her fall and keep her from dying. Isn't that interesting? And she doesn't die, but they're like, oh my goodness. And like her Babsk, I can't remember his name. Her Babsk is like, I was faking it the whole time. Oh my God. Okay.
You
Whoa.
didn't have to do that.
And she's like, oh God, it was all in vain. Oh, and then they give her a magic bug. John.
Hooray!
you don't
Magic
remember?
bug.
Magic bug.
I remember her dangling in front of the crab.
Kaladin takes
And
note of a
honestly, I
winged
treated it like a
crab
turtle.
creature encased in crystal
Oh,
being
do you
used as
think
a
that's
paper.
what it is?
I think so.
You think that was a Larkin?
And then Larkin is what they're called.
Well,
and then
like it's just gonna spread wings and get up and float away.
No, it's going to eat somebody's stormlight.
what? The one in the king's room? No,
No, I'm talking about the one that she dangled from.
no.
I thought you said, oh.
She dangles, then falls, and the
Oh,
spring.
I thought you were saying that was the same thing as what they gave
She
her.
wakes up unable to feel her legs, and then the Larkin is like, "But we're giving you our most prized possession," and it flies down and is like, "Meep," and she's like, "Oh, okay, all right." And she names
Is
it.
she paralyzed?
Yeah.
Oh.
As far as
So
we know.
she is now Professor X for this
And interesting,
Avengers
I
level
think
crew.
I'm certainly taking this away. I don't even know if this is for real, the truth, but this is what I took away in the lift interlude. Going to another interlude.
The thing that Nail used
the-
on Liv was a Larkin.
I believe,
Mhm.
and
So he also has.
Oh, yeah.
'cause she had just
And it sucked out the stormlight.
whatever little she had. Yeah.
Man, she was adorable.
We
Who
got
lift?
Yeah.
we got to talk about Lift.
The old magic is so confusing, but I love it.
That was right after one of the most dramatic chapters.
Mhm.
And you
And
just
then-
turn the page and you're like,
Super carefree.
wow. A child?
More like a butt sprint.
Shut up.
We
Lift is amazing.
so
Wendell.
Lift, I do say, I have much to share with you. Please. Why are you like this?
what Scott and I have mentioned this a lot, where the best part about this chapter is Wendell is desperately trying to answer every question the author or the reader has, and Lift's like, don't care,
Shut up.
shut up.
Time to use my superpowers.
This
I'm
so,
awesome.
As great as this chapter is, I did not like Lift as a character.
Did not see that coming.
And Scott knows full well why.
Did not see that coming.
I ranted at Scott for it.
Why do you not like Lift?
It entirely comes
How
down
much
to the
you
voice
riffed
acting.
on Lift?
It comes down to the voice acting in the audiobook, which is the only way I
Oh,
listen
You
to
read
it.
past it.
I didn't have a book available.
He was in the shower.
Are you
Kyle?
kidding me, Kyle?
Kyle.
I was driving home when I listened to the Lift chapter.
Kyle, here's the thing. Oh no, it's gonna take me 4 days to read this book. But I can do it in 3 if I just make it worse for myself. God! Lift is my favorite.
You knew we had an extra month. You could have just
But
spread
a whole-
things out. There are some very important things that happened in the Lift
entirely
chapter.
her accent that does it for me.
Are we talking more than just the kid being revived and then being named
Yes.
king? More
Yes.
than that?
More
Okay.
than that. Some minor things. Lift mentions seeing a tapestry of the herald with one of the faces scratched out. And it's like, I know what that means.
I thought that's what Zeth was referring to when he said one of the heralds was missing.
He mentions
too,
that,
for a
but he
while.
also mentions that one of their faces has been scratched out.
Okay.
So,
Which, guess what that means? Guess who was also at the feast?
was
I don't
is
under- I
the
don't
leader
understand.
of that demolition crew a herald?
I don't believe so.
What?
And she's just scratching out her face like no one's allowed to see me.
No. Well, so in the first book, there's an interlude chapter
Yeah.
where there is a woman who is defiling a whole
Yeah.
bunch of art. We don't know who that is yet, or the significance of it, but we see her handiwork in several
Yeah.
places throughout the world.
But we don't see her. We only see her one time in that, and she isn't even the perspective character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Um,
oh yeah, there's the guys
Hammer.
that are like, man, she's so hot.
Yeah. Do you
Just-
think she'd go for me?
Chisel.
yeah.
That's gonna make a lot of noise.
So
Nah,
it
dude.
just even here in Azamir, that woman has been in the palace and defiled that art.
Who's the one that's scratched out?
Was she not there doing that
Is it Town?
in
or-
Azamir in that in that
She
chapter?
didn't mention.
No. She wasn't
Oh.
there at the time. This character, we don't know who they are yet, has defiled art in Kolinar, in Azamir, and potentially a third location.
Are we thinking that's the one that cracked? Are they scratching the same face?
I don't know if it's
Implied.
mentioned.
It hasn't been.
I don't think it's mentioned whose face is being
That's what
scratched
I'm more
out.
curious about.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely a place you could go where this person seems to be going to different depictions of heralds and getting one out.
Removing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mention. I didn't mean for that little brief detail to go for so long, but I saw it and I'm like, I noticed it and I'm like, I know what that means. Lift doesn't know what it means. Probably nobody in the scene knows what it means.
I didn't know.
but we know what it means. Lift is
Damn near nobody in the world knows what it means.
Lift is an edge dancer, and so she can get real slippery.
Real good at gooning, I've heard.
Oh my god.
I
That's
described
edging dancer.
Oh, sorry.
I described this to Jess,
Let her
and she
dog.
was just not okay with anything involving this, solely because of Lift's word choices.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about her powers is she doesn't seem to use Stormlight in the same way that all the other
Yeah.
knights have.
No.
She can eat
She
stuff.
has to consume.
Wendell even
Hmm.
says something along the lines of, "What did Mother grant you?"
Yeah.
Which that's where I got the idea, like, of so
What
we
kind
have
of
the
spren is
Stormfather,
Wendell?
Good information.
I think he
life
mentions it.
He does.
Yeah. It's not a life spread.
knowledge.
Does he say cultivation spread?
Cultivation spren.
Yep.
So like we know she went to go see the old magic, and that is the Night Watcher,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Wendell says mother. And we know Stormfather and still talks about him, which made me think that these two are halves of the Almighty. And then
Okay.
those two, and then they break down more into the spread. That's just
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So yeah. So Lift's been to see the
Well-
old magic and the Night Watcher, and
What
it
if-
seems that has affected her.
What if
Powers?
her gift was eternal youth, and she's just a 50-year-old?
I don't want to think about that because people are disgusting.
Oh, so
Yeah, I agree.
so you're is that what you think she's?
I mean,
asked
it's
for?
a joking guess, but like, who knows? It could be a twist that happens.
Knowing Lift,
What-
I'm pretty sure
what
she
makes you
probably
think
just
it?
wished for food.
Maybe
It probably. Like I said, it's just a joking
Because
guess.
she has like
What is this face you're
She's
making?
been an orphan
Well,
in.
she's alone. She wanted a friend, so she was given Wendell.
Oh, interesting. You think that was her?
Then why she treat
I
him
don't
like
think
garbage?
she has a problem.
Because she's 10.
She doesn't like him.
She's been 10 3 years.
No,
okay?
hold on. Did you have a niece, like a child, like a cousin that you played with?
I've always been alone.
Okay. So
What
they
the hell
destroy
was
their
I?
Barbies. They
Oh, they-
destroy their dolls.
Okay.
They're awful to
Other
them.
kids don't have respect for your stuff.
I
The reason I wanted to question you about that, John, is she does seem to be fixated on her age, and she says she is younger than she actually is. She says she's been 10 for 3 years now.
Oh, yeah, I do remember
Specifically, she
I've said
says
it
I've been.
twice. Are you kidding me?
She says I'm this many, and then it goes on to
did say
mention
that.
that she's been that many.
that. Didn't even think about
Yeah.
that. I even made an Ash catch.
She doesn't know how to count.
Oh, I think she knows how to count.
She doesn't have
Oh.
a count on her fingers.
where did it? You shared a little bit of tidbit on Wendell and why he was chosen.
Oh,
Where did that come from?
I think it's mentioned in the 4th book. This isn't a huge spoiler. Just something funny about Wendell. Wendell is famous amongst the cultivation spread because he discovered what chairs do.
I love that.
I mean, why would Spread need it?
Exactly.
So they're all like, I like the idea that like all these cultivation Spread are just like looking around and like,
What is that?
What? Hold on.
And Wendell's just like, hold on, guys.
Do they eat it?
Oh!
Dave, you gotta do this, man.
And it is as much as there is society in Spren society amongst the cultivation spread. Wendell is legitimately a celebrity.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's Wendell!
Yes.
We get through, I think Wendell explicitly says this, is that how your stormlight works? That kind of thing. But we see she seems to be able to eat stuff and then convert the energy she
Yeah.
gets from eating it into stormlight.
And
Which-
she never would have asked for that, so that is her detriment.
Is it?
Or maybe she asked for something, and that was how it got to her.
Hmm.
Like the whole Night Mother thing.
It's all a monkey's
Night
paw
Walk.
situation.
Exactly. Like it feels like your words will always be used against you.
Mhm.
It's not even a used against you thing. I think it's a matter of like, it's completely arbitrary what the drawback is.
Okay. It can be, for sure.
So like the one guy just asked for like enough. He asked for something to be able to feed his family, and then he just saw upside down for the rest of his life,
He got used to it.
and he got used to it. And it's like he either asked for like silk or just food or something to provide for his family. There's no relation to seeing upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if he phrased it like, I need to reverse my family situation?
Or
I
like,
doubt it has
what
anything
if-
to do with the wording,
what if
because
it's
the one
about a
guy
lesson?
says doesn't matter how you word it, you're gonna have a problem.
What if it's about a lesson though? He ended up seeing it the right way anyway. What if it was about changing his perspective on how to help his family?
It seems like
okay.
it's all completely up
It
to the
feels
Night Mother's
very random.
interpretation.
Yeah.
Also, are we? I'm asking you two and you, Kyle. Wendell says, "What did Mother give you?" So we are buying into this idea that he's referring to the Night Mother,
Oh,
Night Watcher as
100%.
Mother.
100%.
Okay.
I've never been more
So-
confident in my life.
That's why I'm like, maybe she asked for a friend and was like, I'll turn you into a herald. Here is,
Radiant.
I'll turn you into a radiant.
NKR, baby.
Here is, here's one of my children, and
New Night Radiant?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, I said that in the-
absorb stormlight. You're gonna have to eat. So if you're starving, you can't do anything. There you go.
I said that in the first book, or when we did the video for the first book. And then in part 5, they say exactly New Night Radiance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way.
It's like the
No way. NKR, baby.
And then, so at the end of the chapter, Darkness arrives to kill Lift. But what's really odd is he goes through all the proper legal proceedings to kill Lift. Like he gets the
The correct affidavits.
He tries so hard to hide the real reasoning.
well, it's like, why would he even bother doing this?
And he also punished his underling for breaking the law.
Mhm.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
So Nail very clearly values the wording, like he values the word of the law more than he values the spirit of the law.
Yes. I think that is his thesis statement as a character.
I
You've
think
got it
he even
100%.
says something.
Say it again.
He values the wording of the law, like the letter of the law is more important to be followed than the spirit of the law.
This
Okay.
might be a slight spoiler, but I'm comfortable saying it because you hit the nail on the head. He believes that the only thing that could be possibly infallible is the idea of just following a creed that you can't waver from.
Mhm.
If I'm a human and allow my emotion to make a decision for me, I have to just follow the
Makes
rules.
sense why he wants death.
Would that explain the Stormfather? Because he's the biggest part of honor, and honor is holding to your word. Is that why he acquiesced to Dalinar saying the words?
Again, I don't think he's the biggest part of honor. I think he just might be the biggest part that's left.
That's what I
well,
meant.
and we're talking about two different orders here,
Yeah.
because the Windrunners don't follow the law; they follow honor.
They
They-
follow
they
their
shoot with
heart.
their heart.
They follow their ideals.
Well, but those ideals are to do with like their personal oaths, what they personally believe, whereas what Nail is describing is he follows the law. It's kind of the opposite of what you're saying, where the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law.
Man, Zeth is going to be
But,
so much
like-
more powerful now that he's on the correct ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. It's why he brings up that Yim, the cobbler, had killed somebody. He needed justification before he could kill
Like,
him.
even though he wanted to, he had to get something on him.
That's where Scott's
And it's why he stops. He doesn't kill Lift, is because the Emperor says,
Pardon,
no,
sir.
I pardon her crime. And he's like,
That's gotta be.
I'll get you one day.
Homie just got spoiled by children. All because Liv went back to try to do the right thing, knowing she was probably going to get caught.
That's also where
And
you
then it was
see,
like, oh my... This is him! He's him!
Yeah.
He's him!
you see
And then,
their
like,
second.
pick him up.
Yeah, kind of.
The alignment chart.
Oh, the lawful evil thing.
Yeah.
That's why I said lawful evil, because like his actions, at least in my opinion, are reprehensible. Like he is doing, whether they are for a good reason or not, same with Teravangian. They might be for a good reason in the long run. He is doing horrible, evil things, but he is following the law to the letter.
and it's like, it's an interesting parallel with what Syl and Kaladin debate about in like, what do my oaths even mean? Like, I said I would protect those who cannot protect themselves.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I did that by killing Harshendi.
Yeah.
And even Syl's like, I don't know, man.
Syl, like I get the impression Syl doesn't.
admits, I left because I couldn't be a part of that.
I get the impression Syl doesn't like those kind of conversations.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes her uncomfortable.
But I think with Nail, he's not a Knight Radiant, but like a Skybreaker, their ideals wouldn't even factor in like that. It's like, oh, the law says you can do this. The law says you can't do this. As long as I follow that,
It's a hard cut, yes or no.
my ideals are solid.
I will follow the laws to the letter.
There are even is it called epithets at the beginning of the chapter?
Epigraphs.
Epigraphs, whatever they are, that reference it from their excerpts from Words of Radiance, I believe, in one of the.
Yeah, in the beginning.
And it says something along the lines of the Skybreakers and the Windrunners were clashing with their ideals. They couldn't get along with one another, and it's this exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
That Kaladin questioning the ideals of the Windrunner is another thing that makes me think that he's going to be the one to falter between him and Adolin.
Yeah.
Well, he almost did at the end of this book. Anything else we have about Lift and Darkness?
Oh, when she heals the Emperor, we learn that's her second surge.
Yeah.
Is regrowth. So, she's able to be awesome and grow people back. She's able to heal people.
Frictionless.
And
I always imagine that like video of the soccer player doing. Like,
Yeah. We also learn one of Lift's ideals is
Mhm.
I will remember those who have been forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of what the Edge Dances are about. Not that Lift is a very good representation of it,
Forgot her parents.
but she went back and remembered Gox.
And I think Lift, regardless of what we might think of all of the other things about Lift, she does hold the one ideal very, very strongly that I think is probably the whole core belief behind the Edge Dancers, is someone has to care.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what is so important about Lift, and that part of what's so important about Lift.
Yeah, it also kind of brings up this thing where all of the different orders don't have the same goals.
No.
Because it's like, how could you convince me that the Lightweavers have to care about people? You know, like, clearly their higher goal is fighting the Desolation and the Voidbringers, whatever that may be. But, like, Shallan in her actions never really seems to be very, like, virtuous or honorable.
And from all of the little excerpts we get in the epigraphs from Words of Radiance, the actual in-universe book, it does describe how each of the different orders do different things. They aren't all there to specifically fight as warriors. They have different roles.
Yeah. They mentioned, like, the Truth Watchers were, like, scholars.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
like, discoverers of knowledge.
My imagination for that would be like Lightweavers are your spies.
Mm-hmm.
You'd send them in to go look at the Voidbringers.
I mean, their
or whatever.
powers fit that perfectly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what Shallan uses her powers for.
Next interlude.
What do we? A quick one. Taln.
Yeah.
We get an interlude with him where he seems to have been brought from Kholinar at the end of the last book to the Shattered Plains.
That poor man.
Whew, he's been through some stuff.
The scariest parts, and I say scary.
I don't know how much of Talon is still in there.
Well, it's the moments of lucidity that freak me out the most.
Oh, right.
Where he's just like, oh God, oh God. We
Why
need
am
to
I
prepare
here?
you for the desolations.
Collect will teach you to cast with bronze.
Yeah.
I wish we could use steel. But it's too, it's
It's like, it genuinely chills me to the bone thinking about it. Like,
He's
this
just
poor man.
He's just repeating that. That's what, like, that's to me, because that's like, from what I've heard, I get this from Halo of all places, where they're undergoing in the book in Halo, Captain Keyes gets acquired by the Flood, and they're trying to find Earth in his memories, and he keeps throwing out his badge number, and his naval identification, and using it like a shield to keep from giving them information.
Repeating it like a mantra or something.
Right, and I feel like that's what Town did in Braze.
Yeah.
This whole time is he's just been repeating that to ignore everything else.
Well, what's interesting, I think that's
And
I
now it's just become-
really like that, because what I imagine he would descend from the heavens on the people and like say this heroic, inspiring speech. I'm Talanalot Alin, Herald of War, etc. But yeah, maybe that's what he held on to while he was being tortured.
It might be one of those things where it's like he knows, oh, this could be sad. It might have been he knew he was getting close to breaking a long time ago, and he just held on to, if I'm gonna break, I'm not here anymore. I need to hold on to one thing to be able to give to them when I come back. And I fail. I need to be able to give them something, this much at least, when I come back, because there won't be enough left of me to lead.
This is making me like tear up a bit.
Yeah, dude, for real. When I had I think it was in book 3 when it was my smooth brain. It was finally laid out for me completely, and I understood what the heralds were and what they were doing. Like, I had a moment where I had to put the book down, and I never do this. John does this all the time, apparently. But
That's been like 4.
I had to put the book down, and I was like, that is so messed up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the 9 people he probably could have trusted more than anyone else were like,
Abandoned him. And
he's got it.
He's just been alone this entire time for millennia. And yeah, if that
Hate
was
that
just
for him.
yeah,
Hate that for him.
couldn't have happened to a better dude.
It
I did
seems
see-
like he
I mean-
doesn't even know.
I did see a great meme.
Yeah, that's another thing. It feels like he doesn't know he was betrayed.
Yeah, and it's like and he's just completely blasted. Like
He's gone for the most part.
Mhm. And and the frustrating thing is, like, if you remember back to the prelude chapter at the very beginning of the first book, when Yezrian and Kalek are talking, Kalek mentions like, oh, Yezrian is also broken.
Mhm.
Like, we've been doing this for so long,
He can see it in his eyes. Or
we
something.
can't do it anymore. And like, Yezrian's supposed to be like the king of the heralds, like the best of them.
And they all are like, maybe Town can do it.
Yeah, well, it's like the justification was we just can't do it anymore, and so they leave town in damnation.
Well,
But
I said Town was the one who never broke, right?
Yeah.
and so I don't know how long they had been doing it prior, but already by then the 10 of them had started to crack, and then you imagine just 4,000 years more of torture that Talon had to go through, and it's like he's just completely busted.
But because of that sacrifice,
Because he can go back at any time.
civilization's at where it is now.
Right.
And holy Lord, man, what a guy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Town.
I wonder
I
if
did see a great meme that was just a picture of the heralds,
Yeah.
and it's like the heralds at 100% power, and then it's just a picture of Tal, and it's like the heralds at 99% power.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
I
It's
wonder
like
if
he's carrying the whole team.
That's how I feel when I play Rocket League.
I wonder if that's good for you. I wonder if Town, like, that was just his strategy. They all go, somebody breaks before him, but he's starting to figure out like a pattern that helps him.
Mm-hmm.
So then this time he holds on, he's probably sitting there thinking like, man, everybody else is doing really good. Okay.
Do you think he knew he was alone in Braze?
That's what I was saying.
I-
There's no indication that
I'm
he
kind
does.
of wondering.
There's no indication that he doesn't either. But
Right. Well, I mean,
Well-
maybe at the beginning, surely, when he was still lucid enough. I don't think now. I think now he's gone.
easy.
I don't have a lot of information.
Because he said he failed. Specifically, he failed.
Well,
The only confident information we have is that Town was there.
I just had a thought.
What if one of the other heralds got hit by a car? No, what I'm saying
like cars,
no, what I'm saying is like, what if another herald died?
There is
and then just immediately broke.
Yeah.
Maybe.
there's nothing to suggest that they couldn't
mean-
die outside of
I
the
mean,
desolation.
truthfully, the Voidbringers are over here just pounding on Town for 4,000 years, and then they're like, dude, I give up. Let's all go beat the out of this one. And that was like, okay, I'll give you my lunch money. I'll give you my lunch money.
90, like literally just 99 dudes, like roll, just look over, like, what about them? I give up.
We don't know where all the heralds are. We know where a lot of the heralds are.
Specifically, when Dalinar was getting killed, that's where we know when they were.
Specifically, we know where a lot of them were prior to Taln returning. So they were certainly on Roshar at
Okay.
that time. We don't know where all of them were, though.
Oh.
So this isn't. There are like, there's like 6, I think, that were like, we know where they are and what they were
Like
doing.
confident known?
Confident.
Okay.
At least me and Scott are pretty confident we know. But there are about 3 that don't get a lot of mentions. So you might be onto something here.
And there's
Okay.
also in this book, Words of Radiance, was the one that made me on the first read, it made me start asking questions like, what even are the heralds?
How do they do this?
Well, I mean,
Are the
Nail.
swords what give them their powers? But when Zeth holds his sword, he's not immortal.
No, he explicitly dies.
So what's going on with that? He didn't go to Braze when unless he did and Nail saved him. My point is this book was making me ask those questions like, what are the heralds?
Yeah.
Interesting that you bring up Zeth. Let's talk about Zeth real quick.
Zeth.
Poor boy.
Let's go to a
poor boy.
quote. One of my favorite quotes of the book. Because man, I just feel things when I got Zeth, huh?
Yeah.
Zeth is probably my favorite character.
Oh, really?
I think he is my favorite character.
Seth son Villano, Truthless of Shinovar.
Hold on, we're getting there.
Okay, so here's the thing that I didn't get to bring up because I wasn't here last time that I really like about Zeth is that he hates himself so much that he skipped the Shin tradition of being the son named after the father,
Yes.
and he doesn't want to shame his father so much that he took the name of his grandfather.
Yes.
That is
So
sadly beautiful.
There is, I'm not going to spoil it. There is further character development just through what he refers to himself as. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, bro, all right. He's like at least in the top 3 and just how well written and presented he is in these books.
Yep. Because all of his chapters begin with not just his name, but how he identifies himself.
Mhm. So, the first half of the book has this just linger behind it because you know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know Zeth is gonna show up, and like you get all these like little signs. Like you have this moment where you think that Zeth was the one who cut the balcony to try to kill Elokar, and you're like, he's here. He's here. He wouldn't. He wouldn't. But it's like Brandy Sandy is like playing at you because he knows what people are gonna
There's
think.
a shard blade. Ooh.
Like, but then the hallway scene. Okay. Santa Lynch #1. The hallway scene. And you have that whole fight happen. You have Adolin, Dalinar, Kaladin. Honestly, the clap was cool.
He caught it.
You guys love the clap, I think, way more than I did.
I love when
I
Dalinar
thought
catches
was-
things.
Yeah, when he catches things, that's just like peak. I want to play catch with him.
Like,
What I think the more impactful moment of Dalinar in that scene for me is when they start squaring up against Zeth, and he's like, I'm not drunk at the table this time,
Yeah.
you bastard.
Oh, dude,
I'm
it's so much.
Oh yeah.
Like you see I just imagine that you have the three of them and they're like we'll be like a trident and like you got them right there together, and then like long hallway and it's dark, but you just start to see like light
Zeth
glow
start
at
to
the end.
glow.
Yeah.
And like it just starts to like everything just starts to happen.
Like all the lamps go out one by
Yeah.
one because he's siphoning the light.
Yeah, but like that whole scene happens. It's awesome, and Kaladin gets his arm cut, and like Aelin swears he saw that.
Yeah. And then,
But-
like you mentioning that, Aelin throughout the book after that, like gives me Teft vibes. He's like, you sounding weird lately.
You know, that thing you do.
Yeah.
Is that the third time he's caught something?
Adolin?
That
So-
was his second.
That was the second time.
I
Well,
hate
no,
that meme.
'cause-
I hate that so much. Don't disrespect my boy.
He caught Eshonai's blade?
No, he got the Chasm Fiend claw.
Yeah.
as it was
He
about
did
to-
not. He did not catch.
Have you guys
Eshonai's
seen
blade.
artwork of that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
Absolutely.
is
Metal as hell. But the quote that I absolutely just love. You get so few words from Zeth, but the words you get are so important. Where he says they told me I was a liar. They told me I was wrong. Zeth son Villano, truthless. They named me truthless. And then just like dips. He's gone.
What is he talking about there?
And Kaladin doesn't know either. Kaladin's just like, they're back.
I fully believe, because of what we saw, that he saw a Radiant at one point. Swears up and down he saw one. And he goes to tell somebody. And they're like, no, son, that's impossible.
Mhm.
You're a liar. And if you say it again, we're going to name you truthless. And he's like, no, I swear I saw it. And then that happens.
Yeah.
And
My-
basically they just gaslit him into believing he was wrong.
I don't know. This
I don't
is
know that they would have gaslit him so much as they would have refused to believe him to begin with.
this is just me speculating, but I don't know if it's because the Shin had it out for Zeth, or if they just didn't want to believe him, or if they actually thought that he was lying. Because I think so. The Shin have all the honor blades, and I think the Shin believe that if the Knights Radiant were coming back, that it would mean that the Desolation was about to start, which would mean the Heralds would come back, and the Heralds would want their honor blades.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Heralds aren't coming to get their honor blades, then they're not back, and there's no Desolation, and there can be no Knights Radiant. Or they're just trying to be like willfully ignorant and like denying what Zeth's saying.
I absolutely.
I'm not sure.
I absolutely believe that it is a matter of they don't want to believe it at all, because that means the end of civilization and everyone's gonna have to start over again, and it might be worse this time because the heralds aren't back.
I also kind of like this idea that it's been so long that they're like,
That also,
like
clearly they didn't lie. They said this was the last one,
yeah.
and if the heralds lied to us, every single part of our civilization is
that's what I'm saying.
For you to be right means that every single thing we have ever based all of our civilizations across the whole world
In
on
the last 4,000 years.
for the last 4,000 years has been a lie. And I think they might have believed, there might have been truth. He might have been able to prove he was right, and they still would have done it, because to believe otherwise throws everything, the entire worldview into the trash bin.
Little does everybody know, the leader of Shinovar at the time was actually Donald Trump. So when he said that, he just got a hard
Right.
wrong.
Wrong.
You're
Huge.
fired. You're fired.
China.
Here's the thing.
They do have a beautiful wall protecting them.
I am so sympathetic towards Seth. And
So the
Good news, I believe he is going to be the focus character in the 5th book. And a lot
I knew he was going to get his own book.
I
There's
think
no way he
There's
doesn't.
no way.
and
he
I
doesn't.
believe a large portion of the story is his story.
he
Is gonna
died
be
at the end of the book, Cody.
I don't know. I don't know.
Being dead's
if
apparently
it'll
not a
be-
big issue.
Not for him.
I
I mean,
don't-
all of the Spren are dead.
I don't know if it'll come in 3 or 4 or 5, but I am so ready for a book, for a chapter of Seth just mowing down the leaders of Shinovar.
Oh, getting his revenge.
Oh,
and being like,
man.
"You named me truthless."
Just like Anakin on that Mustafar.
When he killed the Separatists.
Yeah.
I like Star Wars. It's interesting that we're talking about like what happened to him. Nothing about what I'm about to say has been explicit. There's always just been this implicit idea in my head that there was something vaguely political that would happen to Zeth, where like not only did they not want to believe what he was saying, they it was like, we can't have you saying this.
They kind of
stuff.
took
Yeah.
care of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that's part of the
what
truth
I'm
was.
saying.
Yeah.
That's part of what I'm saying. Is like what you're saying is so dangerous that you cannot be allowed to speak to anybody.
Like, he was
Because
denounced in the worst possible way.
right, because if he said something to someone else, and they're like, well, maybe he's right.
Exactly.
We should go find out if he's right. Because if you question, well, he said it for a reason. You wouldn't basically spout off it's the end of the world
Do
without-
we know
without some kind of evidence.
Do we know what?
what the inciting incident was that made him truthless?
I thought it was that he said the Night
But I
Raiden
mean,
were coming
what
back.
I'm saying is, how did he know that?
I don't know that.
I mean,
I don't think we know
dude,
that.
they've been. It feels like they're popping up like everywhere.
Mhm.
They are.
I wouldn't put it past to just say
Well,
that,
I'm
like,
saying,
he
what
saw
if-
someone and he thought they were using the power or took in Stormlight or something.
What if he was about to be bonded to a sprint, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
Oh,
And so, of course, the first thing he does is,
Dad,
it's happening, Dad, it's happening.
shut up, son.
Oh, I don't know if they ever mentioned if it's his father that turns him in.
Well, I don't know, I just said Dad. Because,
Maybe.
yeah. who knows?
Maybe that's why he doesn't want to use his father's name.
Oh,
From
that
my
would be
experience of
so wrong.
Yeah.
What if
That sounds about right for fathers.
what if he has a good dad that believed him, and like something bad happened to him
Oh,
because his son said something, so he takes his grandfather's name because he dishonored his father.
Mhm.
I hope
Interesting.
all of these questions get answered and more in the 5th book.
Put a bit in it.
we're gonna have to come back to Bad Dad Corner here in the fifth book
we
and see
go
what happened.
right to the end of this book with Zet's rematch with Kaladin in the Everstorm.
Cool
So
fight.
Zeth's returning.
It's so goddamn anime.
Zeth returns.
The two storms crashing into each other, and a literal like a freaking plateau lifts off the ground, and they're like running on it.
Fighting.
You cannot tell me he was not watching like Gurren Lagann or
Yeah,
something.
it was
He
so Gurren Lagann.
Before that, like,
so
you just have
ridiculous.
you have this like exhibition style match where like anybody who could have handled Zeth was no longer there.
Mhm.
And Zeth is just, man, my heart sank when Bridge 4 surrounded Dalinar and Adolin, and I'm like,
Well, this is it.
Don't,
No.
please.
here goes Scar.
I love that line it's like a line shared between Adolin and Kaladin, where they're like, I don't know what he was, and then like one of them trails off and the other finishes death.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's also that one oh there's also the one line that Dalinar says when he's fighting Zeth and he gets defeated and he's like, I wasn't strong enough.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to save Gavilar.
He's like,
And he's like-
self-affirming.
As
Yeah,
soon
he's
as
like-
he starts
if-
lifting up into the sky,
No,
he's like,
God.
I wouldn't have been able to save Gavilar anyway.
And it's
he
like
just gotta,
he's like gets at peace.
It's like at the very least, I
you want to know
would
what's
have been here
not
to protect Alucard.
when Kaladin shows up, and I don't know why I imagine Kaladin this way, but when he says the third ideal, and like to me he just gets covered in light.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it honestly reminds me of, I don't really want to compare it to this because I didn't even really care for this game all that much, but Jack 3, when you get the light mode,
Oh,
and like he has those stringy wings,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I imagined he had.
Yeah, he
when
meant
he
it-
just
yeah.
flew off.
It mentions that like,
There's like a-
condensation or ice like goes around him,
Yeah.
and it looks like wings. I was imagining, I don't know what I was imagining, but there's a specific anime.
See, I thought it was on like the floor and the wall.
Yeah, that's what,
specifically.
like, it goes around on the floor and walls and makes it grows up to look like wings from a sword's perspective. There's a specific, I think it might be Evangelion. That one has literal
Okay.
wings, but there's a it's from some anime. I can just see exactly what Brandy Sandy just must have seen that and been like, that'd be pretty neat if I did that.
And here are my anime characters.
Uh,
But no, like, probably not the most, like, alpha male moment when Kaladin catches Dalinar. Like, we're all like,
Rhino
yes, he's
carries-
alive! But I imagine he's just, like, holding
Rhino
him.
carrying him to the ground.
He's like slowly floating down, and Dalinar's got, like, his hands around his neck.
Only one hand. Remember, he's.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But he's like, I knew it. And he's like,
it was
yeah.
like the Thor at the end of Endgame.
Exactly, yeah.
I knew it. Oh no, it was Adolin who says that. Adolin, he's like beating him bloody on the ground. He's got like a broken arm. He's like,
It's literally the same scene.
and then Kaladin.
Man,
Kaladin's
that whole
like,
fight, dude.
yeah.
That whole fight.
You sent him to the skies, but those are mine. I claim him like I'm about to claim your life.
Dude. Oh.
And then, so they do the fight.
And the optics of them fighting on the storm front, so they're just
Yeah.
constantly being refueled by storm
Yeah.
light.
hmm
Oh my god!
Constantly at full power.
and Kaladin kills Zeth, gets the honor blade, and then at the end of the book, Zeth wakes back up, and the first thing this guy can't catch a break. The first thing he thinks when he wakes up, he's like, "God damn it,
Dude, hey, that's so me.
I,
you know?
found out actually just to try to help myself remember things. I was listening to summaries of Words of Radiance, and I found out that in the original writing of the book, Zeth never comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That was actually
Oh, he doesn't come back to life.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like he doesn't
In-
appear in the book.
in version 2 was where he rewrote him to return at the end of the book.
I'm glad he did
at the-
because
at
he's
the
one of
very
my
I gotta
favorite
say,
characters.
Yeah.
that's gotta be. I mean, Zeth's already so much of a broken character at this stage when Kaladin kills him, and to come back after for like months and months, he has been begging for death to the point that he is now blaming people for not being able to kill him.
Yeah. That's
And
so
then
good and messed up.
to finally get what you're asking for, finally be punished
that
for the
taken
worst
away.
possible wrongs you've ever committed, and finally be at peace because you no longer have to live with the guilt, and then to wake back up.
Mm-hmm.
It has got to break you as a person so badly.
And what's worse, like it's like as close as we can get to the literal personification of honor, coming to claim your life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
After all of their oaths that you have broken.
Dude,
Because Shin Society, he is the lowest of the low.
I am ready for round 2 to happen, where like Nail will probably want to go after him, and you just have Zeth just push him aside. He's like, no, he's mine. He's doing the whole holding the head in the hand kind of thing, and he's got the blade to the side.
Yeah.
Okay, so their fight is so cool, zipping in and out of clouds, catching each other and stuff. I can't help but to be a person on the ground and thinking how funny it is to have the. I think they're there.
Oh, that
you
reminds
you
me.
see the collisions
get-
of reds and blues.
Because in Dragon Ball Z, we get like those far off shots of them and we're like, huh. I would sure like
They're
to see
moving
that
so
right
fast.
now.
Krillin, are you able to keep up with this? Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
That reminds me of.
I mean, that would also be terrifying to just see all of these two glowing figures riding a high storm,
yeah.
and then also just behind them a whole mountaintop just comes out of the
No,
clouds.
Not just a high storm. 2 storms came from 180 directions and clashed.
But that reminds me, the
That would
scouts when they went out to the
terrifying.
chasms to get ostensibly to allow Shallan to see a chrysalis, some of the scouts were like, "Yeah, we saw him flying around out there in the chasms," and Callan is like, "Yeah."
Well,
Must have been the wind.
That definitely wasn't me.
That was a big wind sprint.
must have been the wind front.
One more interlude. Taravangian, saving the best for last.
Here we go.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead, guys.
before
I'll
we-
let you cook, because
I need
There's gotta be a lot of pins
I
in
need
it.
to put something
Oh, yeah.
on the table that involves Taravangian, but has been going on through the whole book from like the halfway point. It's nothing impressive. It is just one of the funniest things I have read in this book, which is just the source, like the bibliography notations of everything that came out of the diagram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just like the catechism of the second desk drawer
Yeah.
is the funniest
What,
thing I
what
have
about all
ever
those
read.
weird ones that are just numbers, huh? That's weird. Those are weird.
10110101201.
I'll tell you right now, I gave it like probably 30 seconds of my life, and I'm like, Google. And Google's like, yeah, dude, we don't know.
Well, I can tell you this is a strong but very, very good guess, I think. One is like there's a lot of repeating numbers, and
Yeah.
like I'm gonna go and say I'm 100% certain those are high storm dates.
Oh yeah.
I thought,
Oh.
are these desolations? But then this one,
I was
like,
definitely guessing they were dates.
but then if they were desolations, they'd be coming thousands of years apart, or hundreds at least.
That
It's I know what they are. It's not a super big deal if you know what they are. They explain it in the next book.
I'm going to assume it's high
And
storm dates
Oathbringer?
leading up to the
Mhm.
Everstorm.
But you are correct.
Yeah.
One of the string of numbers is dates.
And then another of the string of numbers is like a code, I imagine.
I will say, hearing those numbers on
The audiobook,
is
it's really
oh,
funny.
It's
Do they
so
literally just ring out the numbers?
He just says them out loud.
It's like 30 seconds.
yeah, no,
like-
it's even better because like
102421,
Yeah.
or is it like 85 bajillion 19?
he definitely reads them out. He definitely reads them out number by number, and
Dang.
like they go along a certain amount on each page. I don't know exactly where the line breaks would be because my book was compressed
Mhm.
laterally, but it did not match up with the lines at all. So he would just read like 30 numbers in a row and it would just stop in the middle somewhere.
It's actually really cool what the second string of numbers is, where Taravangian was so hyper intelligent on the day he made the diagram that he realized writing in actual words would take too long, and so he just alphabetized all of the words in the dictionary and gave them a number, and then he just wrote the number of the word in the sequence.
I would have punched him in the nose.
I believe that's what that
I'm
second
going to go
string
ahead and
numbers
read
is.
all the notes I have for the Taravangian interlude because none of these are explicit spoilers. The fact that I wrote them down, think of that what you will.
I do have one note about the Taravangian. chapter.
The death rattles. It is all but confirmed to me, at least. I think I'm going to take this as a confirmation. They are caused by one of these things, these proper nouns, by the name of Moloch.
Right, because they're following that.
And they are following Moloch to get more of these death rattles. I bring that up because that is something I mentioned to Cody about being part of my big theory.
Mhm.
Nurgle is hinted at being the cause of the thrill, like you mentioned before. Big implication, it's not explicit, that Helaron was a surge binder.
Yes. In fact, I think it is explicit somewhere.
He says something along the lines of, did she receive training from Helaron?
Or he says Yasna or Helaron.
Yeah.
Which means he knows that Yasna is a surge binder
Mhm.
as well. I think somewhere they mentioned that Helaran was a skybreaker. I think it's Nail who mentions
Probably shouldn't mention that note, actually, now that I think about it.
Okay.
The one note I have about Taravangian's chapters is I think that is a fantastic way to write a character that is so much smarter than you are.
Yeah.
Is to say, he's incredibly intelligent,
Just not today.
just not today.
Not today.
Yep.
He's a dumb dude today.
No, I'm not dumb. I'm average.
Average is useful.
Okay, Terry, just drink your juice.
I do like that, how he's like, it's not that I'm smarter than you thought, you just assume that being average means less.
Mhm.
Right. When it just
Yeah.
means average. You're in the middle. And he's like, being in the middle is valuable to me because I have empathy and I'm not an idiot. I can
Oh.
make policy.
Oh, look at this. He talks about Gavilar having visions and how they were conspiring together. Guess what? Taravangian was also at the feast.
Mm.
He was also there.
Big feast.
Yeah.
Big change.
And then the standard deviation thing.
Oh, that
That's
They
crushing.
were like 30 minutes in the audiobook of them just talking about statistics. So you see on this graph, it's a logarithmic scale.
I was never so happy as when they were doing that.
Yeah. Maybe 1 in 2,000 years.
This
you're
is over
smart.
the last what? How many days did or how long did she
I
say?
think he said 100 days.
Yeah, this is
100 days,
this
yeah.
is you over the last 100 days, and he just looked at it and he went, "Oh, I'll never be able to understand in full what I did.
Great.
I'm gonna have to wing it.
Dude.
I was given capacity once."
And we see that his interpretations are fallible.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
he's just really good.
Even
at-
somehow, it's written up that was like, okay, hey, if Dalinar does this,
Kill him.
like,
Yep.
or
And
if he
Rizbath.
does this, then he's on our side.
And it makes you wonder, are these deviations from the plan, from the diagram, are they caused because they didn't understand it? Or is there some wrench in the works?
Or is there just information he was not privy to that he could not divine somehow?
Is that the case? Like, that's what I'm saying. How perfect is this diagram?
They seem to believe that the diagram is perfect,
Yeah.
and their interpretation of it is what's wrong sometimes.
Which
How,
then they start bringing up things where they're like, this isn't mentioned anywhere.
And like,
They're
when
like,
they're,
oh dear.
oh, you look for the one who survives, and they're like, oh, the bridgeman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
We
that
noticed
brings
patterns
it up.
too late.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it if he wasn't from Taravangian's point of view, you would think he's kind of like a shyster, like just completely like reworking what he has said before to just fit what comes afterwards. But because you're like in his inner council, you like believe like, oh no, he trusts all of this,
Mhm.
and he's got to figure it out.
And when they started talking about seeing the patterns in the diagram and all this, on my first read, I'm like, we need pattern on this. He was able to like read the Dawn chant
Yeah.
just by looking at it and be like, this language sucks. Blah blah. This maybe. And if we got him in there looking at that book, I bet he'd see something pretty cool. I bet he'd see something pretty neat.
I equate Taravangian pretty closely to Odium in the sense of Dalinar to the Stormfather.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And this variation of intelligence makes me think that there's some variation of intelligence that is just a corkscrew or like a wrench in it, that is, he knows he's in the wrong where he's at right now,
Mm-hmm.
and if he ever hits that one, like, he will slide a piece of information that topples it, but it'll be like a very like subtle like
Who
plot twist. Taravangian.
will slide a piece
That
of
there's like,
information to
when
who?
he has IQ of 165,
Oh,
that one day he's gonna be like, all of this is to
been
do the
pointless.
worst thing in the world.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So like,
I need to
Oh.
slide
he
something in here.
loses empathy on the days he's more intelligent
Which means he's the most ruthless.
So
Right.
Odium slips in.
because he doesn't have the ability to care about other people.
Right.
We know from this interlude, I believe it's in this book. I think it was in this interlude. He got this power from the old magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are
So
you
he's-
equating Odium with that at all?
No.
So you think he got this Odium? If what you're saying comes to fruition, Odium would be using this as an opportunity. Like, this guy just gets smart sometimes.
I think he got this power. I think so. I think he got it, and like was genuinely at the time trying to help Gavilar.
Okay.
Like, hey, like, I'm just gonna do this. Maybe this will give us like the push we need.
Mm-hmm.
And then Odium saw this as an opportunity, makes his way in, begins to cause some sort of corruption.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that at some point, Taravangian is going to recognize, like, there's something wrong here. I'm not doing what I plan, what the plan was.
I guess we should clarify, like, what is Taravangian actually doing?
Like,
what is his goal here?
it's the whole unite them thing. Like, he's now become the leader of 2 different countries,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and he's doing it in a way that people want to keep him, but I see him being a pawn when he thinks he is the
So
one controlling the board.
we're operating under the idea that Taravangian is working against Odium.
He
In some
thinks he
way.
is.
Probably not in the same
Okay.
way that all the other characters
I did
are.
something that maybe was dumb because
Okay.
I noticed something. Because odium is a new word for me, sort of.
Okay.
And
Sounds cool.
so we already have. He's some kind of a figure. I thought for a minute, oh, it's just a weird word that they've been using.
Honor
No,
or Stormfather
But-
name drops Odium in the first book.
Right.
It's like Odium comes or something like that.
But
Comes.
we also know he says he is part of honor, and honor is the Almighty, which means odium is something that goes along with it.
No,
No. The
That-
antithesis.
that absolutely is not. He is not part of Honor. Odium is.
No, that's not what I
The
mean.
Stormfather.
The
is.
Stormfather.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
The Stormfather is. So odium is a descriptor
Sure.
as a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
And I
same
just-
way that honor is a descriptor.
Exactly.
So I looked up the word odium just now to figure out what the definition of it is, because it's not a proper noun.
It comes from odious.
It is general
Which means
or
smell.
widespread hatred or disgust directed towards someone as a result of their actions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are the person lacking empathy and then doing big brain to fulfill something, world-changing events, that is the perfect descriptor of that. You are going to be the subject of odium. You are going to be ruled by it. Is the only way I can say that.
I don't know if Odium would use those words to describe himself.
What words would Odium use?
Put a pin in that.
Like fun loving.
Odium talks.
Fugly?
No, God, no. He's
Well,
Odium,
gorgeous.
I don't think it's too out of there to say that Odium is a character the same way that
Also.
Honor was a character. They're like a
Read the third book.
please read the book.
We gotta finish this, and we will.
It's another thing that I see that, like, to me, it feels like the obvious choice out of everything that we know now. I feel like Taravangian is the
The
bad
most-
guy, and
He's
my
definitely
biggest
not a good
the,
guy.
the
Yeah.
biggest reason why is because he wants to kill Dallas.
Well, it's
Yeah.
well, sure. Well, and it's also like he's not a good guy in the same way that Nail isn't a good guy. Like, I think they have noble intentions, but it's just they're willing to do such cruel, evil things to achieve them.
I would pin that in that Taravangian had noble intentions when he went to the Night Watcher and asked
Yeah.
for capacity.
when he was talking, when he was partnered with
Past
Gavilar.
that, whatever he's doing now, he believes he might have good intentions, but he is no longer in control.
And I think
Whoever he was at his smartest is in control.
Yeah, I like this idea that he is at
Two
the
different
whims.
characters.
He's at the whims of Best Day Taravangian.
But
Right.
he's going to see. I think there's going to be a time where he gets close to that and realizes what was corrupted,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to add a second level of corruption to it that will just make his plan start to falter.
And
So like self-sabotage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love that idea.
But it's like this unsung hero thing that's gonna happen.
I don't know about that.
That I'm calling it right now. So
I mean,
if it works out, y'all can suck my dick later.
You can have something like, but I'm sitting here going, he asked for capacity to save the world, and supposedly he believes he had it for one day where he had the least amount of empathy on the planet. Which means whatever he's going to do disregards whatever happens to the people.
Well,
Like, they are going to be like, sure,
Meteor.
he saves the world, but nobody would thank him for it.
See, here's the thing.
It would be better if the world was destroyed.
Story wise, that would make sense because when our main character, our main dude Kaladin, is at his most unsympathetic, is also when he's his most unhonorable.
Dishonorable.
hmm.
We all love talking about Taravangian. We skipped an interlude.
Lon,
Eshonai.
Eshonai.
Hers
Who the
were.
hell is that?
She's the listener. She's a beetle lady. Her quite tragic.
You guys all have really strange words for best girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't high five me.
Okay.
I remember John and I had a conversation
My bad.
that first chapter with her where she's like talking to her mom. Brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
My phone's dead, so I can't look at my notes, which is even worse because my memories, it's whatever. I remember she said, "No, well, my mom's not dead. She's still very much alive." It was something like the really brutal part was right after that, alluding to her memories just gone.
Yeah, like
Experience that person.
Her memory
It's-
stopped on this day, and has never left that day.
There's a chapter in a future book that I think about so often because you learn a little bit about Eshonai's mom. It genuinely breaks my heart every time I think about it.
When? When is it?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Not
It's
in
in a
this
future
book.
book.
read book 3.
I think it's in 4 actually.
Still, just that one scene where Eshonai goes to talk to her mom, and like the scene is they're having a conversation and they're talking, and her mother says, "You need to look after your sister. You know, we're going through so much right now. She needs you now more than ever." And Eshonai just keeps talking with her, and she's like, her mom finally finishes the conversation with, "Just remember, Venli, that Eshonai, she's special and she needs your help." And it's like this whole conversation, this very sincere, heartfelt conversation Eshonai is having with her mother, and her mother doesn't
not
even
talking to her.
is not talking to her at all. It's that right there, I think, does more than all of the other interlude chapters in, for lack of a better word, humanizing the Parshendi and just flipping this whole conflict on its head. Because in the first book, they might as well have just been orcs
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
monsters or any other faceless goons that are just there to be killed.
I mean, all you're given is that they sing in a rhythm,
And
and
we don't know
they
why.
respect their dead.
And we don't know why.
Yeah.
And the Eshonai interludes really go into depth about who are the listeners and what is their culture and what is their experience, and you realize that they have the same concerns that all of the Alethi do in this war. They're like, we can't keep fighting this war, man. We're just getting whittled down until there's not going to be anything left here. Why are we even out here? And it's just interesting to see how much their concerns and their conflicts parallel each other, the humans and the listeners.
And when the listeners eventually start adopting storm form, there's such, I almost want to say body horror because it's like being trapped inside yourself.
Yeah.
That me up, for lack of a better term. We're like whenever she attunes to a certain rhythm, she hears herself screaming.
Yeah.
The rhythm of peace is the one they
Yeah.
called out. The one that she was actively listening to right before taking this form of like, we need to stop fighting. We can't keep doing this. That's the voice Eshonai has had.
It is so brutal.
And then just accidentally slipping into it, and all of a sudden, everything about who you thought you just became is being thrown on its head.
You ready for me to be pretentious again? You notice anything strange? You notice anything strange in that chapter? Her last interlude. She is convincing the rest of the listeners to adopt storm form. I'm just gonna tell you guys because
I mean, don't rely on me to pick this up right now.
anybody?
Go ahead.
So, one of the things I'm picking up is we know that, at least according to Yasna, the Parshendi and the Parshmen are the Voidbringers. And up until Eshonai adopts storm form, that really is kind of incongruous.
Sure.
That doesn't really seem to make sense. Until we see Eshonai having taken storm form, which the spren that they used does not seem like any of the other spren we've encountered. It seemed
It was described as like a little red
Lightning bolt.
Yeah.
right. And not only that, like its personality was not like the other spren. It did seem actively malicious. And the Stormfather even said, "I'm sorry for what's going to happen. I can't stop it."
you're about to die.
Yeah, essentially something like that.
Um,
And so from there, it seems whatever this spren was either is so heavily influencing Eshonai that it is essentially indistinguishable from her having just been fully bodily taken over by some other entity, which feels somewhat similar as to what happened with... It almost feels like the Thrill.
Sure.
To some extent, which would link it to these other proper nouns that we keep seeing. Like
you like
Nergal.
thinking about the Thrill a lot, and I like that.
Well, so like I've noticed that everyone who is in storm form, most of the singers have a somewhat tranquil nature about them, especially with all of the different...
Especially the ones outside war form.
Right. Well, even the war form ones, like, they're rarely angry.
They're always in tune with the rhythms.
Right, they're in tune with the rhythms, and the rhythms are very rarely ones of anger or hatred or spite are the ones I've heard called out.
Do you think these
Rather
forms
than-
are just like beatboxing?
Yeah, actually, I think they're either humming or doing something like that. I think this is how the way that's supposed to be described, because it's obvious.
Like, Esh and I just come back with a wow.
What if they did that?
It would probably be the hardest thing to translate
Yeah.
in a live action adaptation.
Whenever I think about
The
it,
listener, I feel like they're always humming at the
Mhm.
bare
Yeah.
minimum, like, because we hear they're always singing,
you could use the
but the bare minimum, they're always humming in tune with each other.
you could use the whistling language of the Canary Islands.
Great.
but like that's the thing. Even that, in the hands of one such as me, if I were to, I'm not a filmmaker, but if I were to make this book into a film or a series of episodes or whatever, I feel like I couldn't do it and not make it corny.
Mhm.
True.
Because it's like, it's not just that they are humming or they're singing in sing-song. It's like they are experiencing... Well, what even are the rhythms, do we think?
Is it a vibe?
Well, the other thing that they say is, and they don't all experience it individually. There's one rhythm, and when
Yes.
you attune to it, you are absolutely in sync with everyone else.
Who's also
So
attuned
these
to it?
rhythms
Yeah.
exist outside of the listeners.
And that's another thing. In my first read, for sure, I thought this. My head immediately went to that scene with Cabsol, where he's doing the cymatics.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Is that the rhythm that they're attuning to? These cymatics?
Maybe.
I don't know.
mean, to some extent, that wouldn't surprise me.
But
But
then, like, obviously, when everybody went to this storm form, and then, like, you have the moment where Shin leaves, and then comes back, or, well, sort of comes back.
It's
He just sits there.
Relaine.
Okay. And like, they capture him, and they're, like, sitting there questioning him. He's like, they changed, man. There's something wrong.
Yeah, like he was genuinely frightened.
Yeah.
Like
What are
he
these things you're writing?
Just-
You make notes throughout the thing, and I'm so curious about them.
it's just stuff that I'm thinking about that I want to talk about
okay,
later.
okay.
So-
Sorry.
the thing.
I thought it was like things like
Un-
that
before
we
you,
pick
the
up
thing
on.
you could have noticed.
I'm seeing a connection still. Is all of the emotions that they attune to are very aggressive and negative emotions.
In storm
I think-
form.
In storm form, specifically.
I definitely noticed that too, that there's like, it's, all of the emotions are cranked up to 11.
And she has like
It's
new
like-
names for the rhythms now.
That's what we're talking about. Like,
because she says they're not even the same rhythm.
Yeah.
They're like adjacent to them, but
Like,
there's a
there's
much
been one
darker
time-
undertone
I
for
can't
every
remember
single one of them.
exactly what the wording was, but it was like she says something along the lines of the old version of this one. Then
Right.
I try to attune to that one to like calm his
Mhm.
nerves or something.
it's like, they were like the rhythms of like ridicule and conceit and
Spite.
hatred, spite. Whereas the other ones were like rhythms of doubt or
Resolve.
Curiosity.
Hmm.
So, one, I love the fact that, like,
Wow. Holy
He had a bit of a
crap.
brainwave.
yeah,
Oh my god.
brain blast there, Cody.
Are you okay?
Yes.
So
He's trying to read.
I love the fact that Eshonai and her sister are pretty much at odds with each other.
They
And then-
felt like an actual sister relationship.
Mhm.
Like the
Where
movie,
they just
or the
they just hate
show?
each other.
But then, like, when they're like getting the army together and rounding up all the people, all Gestapo style, you planned this. Is like Eshonai's thought about her sister,
What is her sister's name again?
Venli.
Venli.
Okay.
There's a scene they have where Eshonai like confronts Vinley and says something along the lines of, "You didn't discover Stormform, did you?" And Vinley like doesn't answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how Stormform is from the gods, and the gods, turn them, would control them and puppet them, and so
Okay.
the songs are tunes from the gods
Okay.
that cause the Pershendi to act certain ways. It's discovering them on their own that gave them the ability to leave their god's command, right? And then the other thing that I love is that Eshonai, I want to believe this, had one last bit of herself where she notices one of her generals is like slipping from her grasp.
Food.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is like, guard the, I'm going to have to kill him.
That's what I was about to say.
Guard the other ones that won't convert. And then they slip away. And, funny that.
Like it's
That's-
just
yeah.
that is
Yeah.
such a stupid mistake, or was it? That
yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
wasn't her mom part of that group?
Yep.
Mhm. She
Yeah.
didn't want to be Stormform.
thank you for reminding me about the gods thing. We know the Spren, at least in some form, are fragments of honor,
Mm-hmm.
as is the Stormfather.
Are we sure
At
every
least
Spren is
Honor
a fragment of
spread
honor?
are.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Are we absolutely sure that the Almighty and Odium aren't somehow like a connected being, like a yin and yang creature?
I don't know if we have enough information at this point to know that.
So
They certainly talk about them as different entities.
the connection I'm seeing here is that these Spren that bring Stormform are like the Spren from Honor are from Odium.
So these
These
are,
are
like
the
Odium
Spren that give
Spren,
them.
These are the Odium Spren.
rather than I guess Honor Spren.
Right. These are
But then,
so if these are why they're the Voidbringers. These are the things that
If-
cause the Voidbringers.
if Syl is an honor Spren, what does that make the Cryptic Spren? Are they also from honor, but they're different?
That's a good question.
Like, is that like a third party? Maybe they came from the Night Watcher.
well,
I-
maybe they're Night Watcher Spren.
Wendell.
This is a
Wendell
Because their
says
powers are cryptic as.
Wendell does say that his mother is the Night Watcher, so and Syl basically describes
And he's a cultivation Spren.
right.
This is a
So you're onto something there.
I'll throw this question out here, not being pretentious, just to get you to think about
Well,
these
now
things.
I'm gonna think it's pretentious.
I just want you to start thinking about these things now that you're asking these
You know what?
questions.
Put a pin in
Is
it.
what are the gods we are even talking about here, and how many of them are actually in play?
Because it feels like the 10
Harold.
heralds, like they're godlike.
I can tell you on my first read where my head went when the listeners started talking about gods was Rock calling all Spren gods.
Hmm.
So,
And still confirming that.
Mhm.
She says, I am
I'm-
a little part of one.
I'm going to say that there are 3 gods right now, but I feel like there's more in play that we don't know.
Okay.
Can we name them?
No, I think it's as simple as
Night Watcher.
the Almighty, the Night Watcher, and Odium.
Okay.
And
Well-
I think I'm gonna. My head, I if you're gonna ask me why, I'm not gonna be able to give you an answer. This is just the feeling I get. I feel like there's 2 more.
Hmm.
I feel like there's specifically 5.
So my current thought on Spren, right, is that you have the natural Spren and you have the emotional Spren, right? And what it seems like the emotional Spren are directly connected with the deities. The deities, I'm assuming, are bifocal, or they're a dichotomy. So you have the Almighty and you have Odium, and they're composing forces, opposing forces, not composing.
the Almighty split.
To push back against this a little bit,
Yeah.
think about this. If that were the case, we looked it up last night. Odium, it's not last night. We looked it up tonight. Odium is hatred towards someone's actions. Why would that oppose honor?
So maybe Odium. Okay. So Odium, because life is chaotic, right?
Sure.
So if the Almighty created Roshar and made made chaos out of nothing, and nothing is order. So Odium is specifically against the Almighty's creation. Is what I'm thinking.
We've moved so far away from the little detail I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to mention it real quick because it's really nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a detail the book calls out. And I'm like, I'm going to mark this down. There are 2 times in Eshonai interludes, especially I know in the last one they draw specific attention to it, where she's waving away some Sprin after she's adopted storm form.
Oh, that's right. It's like a little ball of light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've
I
ever.
did not pick up on
The
that.
way she describes it is like no Sprin we've ever seen in these books.
She doesn't remark that. I've never seen a spread like this before. It's
It's
described as a
it's
spread
described as something
that
we've
we have
never
not seen before. Put a pin in it.
That's
Think about that.
that's best girl trying her best to cling on to the light that she has.
Cling on, that's Star Trek. I love these God conversations. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Lot to talk about. I love hearing your guys' thoughts.
I feel like Odium is higher than honor. Honor is like a part of the Almighty, right? It's not the Almighty himself.
Well, at the very least, the book's told us on several occasions that Honor is dead.
And
Right.
all the Almighty is also dead.
The Almighty called out himself that he's dead, and the Stormfather said that he is as well. He's just the biggest piece left over.
I can certainly tell you on my first read, and I'll go ahead and say on reads henceforth, I have all the Almighty and Honor are synonymous in my head.
Oh, really? Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's exactly what they are in my head.
4,000 years adrift will do that.
I felt like Honor was another chunk of the Almighty, like the Stormfather is.
My read on it is just like how the Heralds have a dozen different names depending on what branch of Vorinism you're in or what culture you're in.
What country?
I think the Almighty is just the name for honor in Vorinism. I think they're the same thing.
Okay.
And it's just we're talking about the same thing here, we're just calling it different things.
All right. Because otherwise, if we don't narrow this part down, the conversation's just gonna get stuck in this loop.
As well as Dalinar mentioning to Navani. Navani is like, do you really believe that the Almighty's dead? And he's like, well, yes, but what if he wasn't the Almighty? What if he was...
Well, he specifically said, whoever that figure was
is dead.
is dead. They called themselves the Almighty, but if they're dead, they can't be the Almighty. The Almighty can't die.
Exactly.
Which to me sounds like so much cope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So much
Oh,
go.
yeah.
So my thought is that
he's acting like he has to believe in a higher power that resolves this, and I think that's his.
Well, not necessarily that. I don't necessarily think he has to believe it, and it's just that's all he's ever known.
It reminds me of the Parable of the Cave. I'm no longer looking into the shadows. Maybe this is just another bigger shadow.
I want to recenter it. We've been talking for about 4 hours now about
It doesn't feel like it.
just about Kaladin.
and we haven't like talked at all about the plot.
Yeah.
Which I think I said earlier is why I love Brandon Sanderson's character so much, because we can talk about them for 4 hours without any context.
The first actual chapter is Yasna talking to Shallan about basically
Answering so many questions.
It was, but it's just like, it's also just like a quick, like, if this wasn't a movie and this was movie number 2, it's like, oh yeah. Okay,
Remember
that
what
makes
happened in the
sense.
last one?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for
But
10
man,
minutes.
when she talked about the world being 3 things, you know, from a world building D&D guy, obviously that's like a simple, like, 3 pillars kind of move. But I was like,
Rule of 3.
mother Brandon Sanderson, do you know how much of my world building I built on this exact thing? The mind, the soul, and the body.
Where do you think I got mine for my
And, like,
world?
And like, this was like I did my world building before I read Way of Kings. But now, when you guys see all this stuff, you're gonna be like, I see where you got that from.
I'll give you the benefit of the
It's-
doubt because I think that framework is pretty.
I think it's a good structure to build from.
It's pretty timeless. I wouldn't call it a cliche or a trope. Maybe I'd call it a trope, but it's a well-established framework for setting these kinds of things up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Brandon Sanderson invented it.
I think it's a great way from like a religious and like deity style aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, 3 places is the default for most religions in our real world.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. But I did like the first chapter of her just kind of going through all this stuff, so that like if it had been a while, because if we're treating this as the book just came out, how long was it between Way of Kings to Words of Radiance that people had to wait
Oh,
for them to get that refresher?
Yeah,
4
yeah.
years.
I think it was about 3 years between books.
Okay, like, and that's like, I just love that from just setting the stones, like, here is the path, this is where you're at, this is kind of what you learned,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can kind of be like, oh yeah, that's right, okay, cool. And then like you start, she hasn't gotten pattern yet, and the first thing is just like you're on the boat, you're remembering these characters that you're like, oh yeah, I do remember the sailor guy. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, but man, I love these guys. This is great.
Also in that scene when Shallan and Yasna are talking, it's probably one of the most important scenes in Shallan's character development throughout this book is Yasna tells her, like, authority is an illusion. Power is placed where people want to put it. As long as you just smile and have confidence, you can convince people to do a whole lot of stuff.
The thing I really like about that sentiment as well is even in so many different ways, that sentiment itself is an illusion. Because power is not an illusion in so many different places, like with the case of Light Eyes and Dark Eyes.
Sure. It's very physical.
Yeah. And yet, at the same time...
Then you have somebody like Moash, who does change from Dark Eyes to Light Eyes.
Or even then, you just go across borders, and they don't give a crap.
Yeah. It's very interesting where these lines are and how squishy and blurry they are.
Yeah.
I just figured that the whole thing about the Light Eyes, Dark Eyes conundrum was just somebody really didn't understand what the Radiance and stuff and the Heralds were. Because, like, clearly their eyes change when they start glowing.
Mm-hmm.
So light eyes literally means you have light coming out of your eyes.
Well, when they're
Are the
talking
people
to
who
Town,
should be in charge?
Town has dark skin and dark eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Except when he's channeling Stormlight, I'm sure.
You think?
Well, we've never seen him do it.
We haven't seen him do it, which is why I'm not ruling it out. Kaladin's eyes straight up glow like electric blue whenever he's got Stormlight. So the idea that, like, they're just like, oh, people who have lighter colored eyes are the people who are supposed to be in charge. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's the ones that eyes just turn into spotlights are the ones that they're supposed to be listening to. Because they're the ones who can fight the monsters.
So the Parshendi should be in charge.
Then why
because
just
their
put
eyes
in
are
a-
glowing?
Moash has light eyes now.
Right.
What does that have to do with anything?
Spren Bond.
But he has a shard blade.
He's not bonded to any
He
Spren.
was, the fact that
Dead
they,
Spren Bond.
I mean, you can bond with a shard blade over the course of like a week, which means that you're basically forcing that dead Spren to attach to you.
Yep.
Is the way I'm reading that.
Okay.
Either way, the very beginning of the book is just reminding you that Yasna is mommy. She's reminding everyone of who she is. She's very knowledgeable. She's independent.
Also my wife.
And then
Her relationship with Shallan starts to become more
friend-like.
friendly. Then she's no longer just like a pupil.
I kind of see it as like, maybe there's just me genuinely putting in my own like vibes. I see it as like mom.
I saw it starting to become more like a Obi-Wan to Anakin kind
Sure.
of thing. Where they're starting to become
I see
equals.
what you mean.
Yeah. And a lot of that is she's starting to trust Shallan more and confide more information in her.
I guess for me it was kind of like when I got promoted to a supervisor level. The guy that was like my mentor flat out told me, he's like, hey, you and I are on the same plane now. He's like, but if there's ever a time where you come across a moment that you don't know what to do, or if there's something that you need to ask for advice, he's like, I'll always be here to answer them for you. I'll always still try to help guide you with what I can.
Mhm.
But I can't tell you what to do anymore. I feel like that's kind of where her and Yasna got, was like your decisions are your own. You're a light weaver. So, like we're not in the same group, but we can still be besties.
It's also interesting that they aren't in the same order, but they are in adjacent orders.
Mhm.
They do share a bond.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm noticing,
Or a surge.
the other thing I'm kind of noticing is that happened really fast.
What do you mean?
So it goes from
Oh, like their connection?
yeah, it goes from Yasna is the teacher and clearly Shallan is the student to very quickly transitioning into something that does almost feel like they're approaching equals.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, just screams about Yasna more than anything, where she's...
I think Yasna desperately needed a friend.
Right.
Mhm.
Yasna acts like she is so alone,
I kind of like the idea as well, where my mind gets all wrapped up in it.
which is why she even considered it to begin with.
Like, it's that immediate, you betrayed the hell out of me. You betrayed the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
like,
got one over on
You beat me. Okay.
I need people like you.
I never thought of it that way. I don't know if Yasna would ever consider being beaten like that she would show any kind of sign of respect for it.
I
No,
wouldn't
I
even
just-
call it respect.
Ah.
It's just more like, I should probably keep you close.
Mhm.
I certainly saw it as
Like
she
to
was
keep your
u-
friends close, enemies closer kind of thing.
to me, it definitely felt more like she was looking for any excuse
I mean,
to be
sure.
able to just ignore all that, because, like,
Can it be both?
it
That's
could
what I'm
be.
saying.
But, like,
I
from
absolutely think it's...
every connection I've seen Yasna have is from all of her interactions with Shallan and everybody in Carbranth and the sailors and even her own family. Yasna stands out as an individual who does not connect with people well.
Yasna got like 2 chapters in this book, and like we could talk about her so long.
Yeah.
And
Navani has that whole thing where she's like, I feel like there was a point where she just didn't need a mom anymore.
Mhm.
right,
And I was
When she turned
superfluous.
5,
Yeah.
everyone talks about how independent Yasna is, but like she's still a person and you can tell she's still looking for connections with people. And that's why that betrayal from Shallan hurts so
Wait.
much.
It's very humanizing when she is sitting in her room on the ship and Shallan comes up and just for a second you see her just head and hands just like
she's
Yeah.
showing her
with
exhaustion.
so much weight on
Mhm.
her.
And Shallan focuses so much on that drawing she did of like the dichotomy between she is powerful, Journey Before Destination. She was powerful despite the weariness.
Yeah. She
I
can,
love that.
she can still
Do
put on
you
that face.
think Shallan's drawn Yasna multiple times? Do you think she's empowered Yasna through her drawings?
I was gonna say, speaking of Shallan, as much as I dislike her,
And that's why Yasna's kept her around.
As much
She's
as I-
like a rechargeable battery.
as much as I find it hard to genuinely believe in the things Shallan says, I do genuinely believe that she respects, reveres, maybe even on some level loves Yasna.
Mhm.
Mm.
So
Oh,
I don't think it's
absolutely.
romantic.
I think
No.
it's like a bigger sister thing.
I do really feel like I buy that she is actually genuinely destroyed, knowing that she is dead.
Mhm.
Maybe in the beginning she could have had a little bit of a crush on her. But
Don't do
I
this.
don't. I get it, Kyle. Chris and I both barked up this tree just because the wording was so weird to me.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. I got so hung up
she's
on the wording.
almost in awe of Yasna.
Well, he's talking about a specific where Yasna says, "Are
Maybe
you?"
Yasna was interested in her.
Yes.
That I don't buy.
There was a moment where the wording was just so weird to me.
Yasna does not seem like she'd be interested in
It doesn't
anybody.
bother you at all, the idea of being beholden to another, particularly a man.
Oh yeah.
He
yeah.
quoted that. He quoted
Yeah.
that.
It's specifically the particularly a man thing.
I couldn't
that I was
tell
like,
if that was.
that's weird.
I couldn't tell if that was a Voron thing or not.
I always just thought that was like a patriarchy thing.
Yeah, I think that's just.
I think
Yasna.
That's
what
how
it's
I read it,
supposed to
but that is an interesting interpretation.
Either way, I kind of let it go
Do
because
you not like me?
Yasna unbuttons one button.
But then she has like 6 different undershirts, so it doesn't matter.
I feel like she has like 4 belts.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
like just a few too many.
She's a better dressed Lulu.
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. Except she's not,
Stop talking about Scott's wife.
We
by
get
the way.
she's not the color of glue.
Sure.
we get introduced to a very important character on this ship from Carbronth to the Shattered Plane.
The
Pattern.
Xanthid. Oh,
It's Pattern.
okay.
I was right.
Yes, it's Pattern.
The way he's introduced is so.
He's
it's a
really
he.
cute.
Is he? Is it a he?
He
Or-
presents as masculine.
Yeah.
I refer to him as he.
I loved Pattern from the beginning.
I don't even know if he really presents as masculine.
He doesn't
either.
like. She refers to him as him.
Okay.
So that's what I say. That's what I mean.
And Shalon's
but like,
never wrong.
but like, Syl is very clearly like a girl.
Oh, that's a good
Feminine.
point. She overwhelmingly presents as when she's in her human shape.
yeah.
He's a female figure.
Pattern is like a spirograph
Has there been
pattern.
a friend that's
When he shows up in Shadesmar, he has a very deep, sonorous voice.
Oh, that's a
which-
good point too.
Mm.
He does have. He's
he
a
does
very
have
different voice.
He has a very masculine presence in
Oh,
Shadesmar.
that doesn't come across in the audiobook.
Has there been
Um,
a Spren that it's attached to somebody that is the same sex or presents as the same sex?
We haven't seen one so far, except for Odin. Oh, my God.
Stormfather?
Yeah, Stormfather.
But I feel like that was a forced bond. I feel like he looked at him and was like, "No, you're my Spren." He's like, "I'm not following you around." He's like, "It's fine."
The life spren of the interlude dude.
Yim.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, was that
Did
guy
they
on
mention-
guy
I
action?
think that was a lady.
I don't know if they
Say.
mention.
I don't remember.
I don't. So
I only say this because I've thought about the same thing.
Mhm.
Even in future books, I consider this. There have been examples, including Dalinar, like we mentioned. But I remember telling this to you, Cody. Isn't it weird that all of the Sprins seem to be? They present themselves as the opposite sex of what the person they've bonded with is.
That's what I'm getting at. Was like maybe they just do that because they think it's an easier way for people to approach them.
I think
Maybe they can transition from however they want to.
I'll go ahead and say this
They're like
because I've
Pattern
had
is
this.
a thought Spren. He's a cryptic.
mhm.
Like
I've had this thought before. I think we're barking up the wrong tree with that. There are in the future books there are examples of same sex.
oh, is there? Okay.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I think we're barking up the wrong tree.
I don't
It
know. If
doesn't-
it,
why would it matter?
Yeah.
Is my thing. It's just something that I didn't notice until just now.
I think he picked however the Spren were going to present as purely a character decision for how they would interact with the person they're bonded with. I think it's just a case by case basis. I don't think it's an actual rule.
And he wanted people to ship Syl and Kaladin because he's a degenerate piece of filth.
Mormon, in other words.
Whoa. We have Mormon viewers.
Syl and Kaladin is the way that you're making me feel tonight.
Well.
Simple and clean.
Oh, okay.
Purely platonic. Pattern is such an interesting character. In many ways, because he is so different from Syl, our only other bonded Spren. He can't disappear. Which is interesting. He's always present in the physical realm.
He was full on just a 3-week-old puppy that you got in the box. He starts to try to crawl up the wall,
And it just jumps off.
falls down,
And then tries again.
When,
There's that
when
scene.
he got on the bed
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then just hops off. I really thought of Forky from Toy Story 4.
Like, Yasna and Shalon in the foreground of that scene are having a very serious conversation about what this means. And you just see Pattern in the background just jumping off the bed and climbing back up and jumping on the bed.
And then we get to talking about him, and that's less that he's a baby and more severe brain damage.
I
So-
think I think Shalon forced him into the world. She felt like she could see him, but she had to continue to draw before finally he actually manifested.
I have
Or
problems.
at least that's the way I understood it.
And I'm hoping you can help me understand this.
Okay.
This isn't spoiler stuff. This is in this book. I don't get it. I don't get why Pattern is the way he is if she was bonded to him when she was hanging out with him in the garden as a child.
That's what I said earlier. Like, that doesn't make sense. Which
Why
is
does
why I
Pattern
think there's
have-
another Spren
But
involved.
if there is another Spren, why does Pattern have those memories?
Oh, dude, what if maybe that's the pattern? maybe she murked his ass.
And
And,
he's
like,
just
the
coming
memories.
back.
And, like, that's, like, when she forced herself to just, like, I can't live with this. I need to shut this all the way out. I can't think about these memories. But the more she started to allow herself to remember, the more pattern grew.
I genuinely hate Lightweavers as compared to especially because Shallan is one, but as compared to the other orders, because she said the words a long time ago, okay? So she just gets all the perks. She gets all the perks, gets to have a shard blade, and the rest of them, but then she has to have truths. But then, like, what are we doing? Why doesn't she have powers? What did she do? She renounced them because she killed her mom? Then why'd she lose all her memories? Why did Pattern... I don't get it. How does what happened to Pattern that he is this now?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, like, the transition from, I think, in a roundabout way, what he's saying is, coming from Shadesmar to here hurt me. And so I'm this now.
Right.
So did she send him to Shadesmar? I don't know.
I don't. Like I said, I'm convinced there's another Spren involved with Shallan.
Then how does he have those memories?
I see.
Spren work weird.
I think that her coping mechanism, just forcing herself to forget that, I think that caused him pain. I think her coping mechanism in killing her mom.
But that doesn't feel more like an edge dancer thing?
No, I don't know.
Because they're the ones
I don't
who
know
are...
anything about edge
Well,
dancers.
the one thing we know, well, one of the few things we know is they are the ones who will be there left to remember.
But ideals can coincide.
But cryptics shouldn't be working like they're lie sprint.
I don't feel like I know enough to be able to argue on this.
I imagine that it has nothing to do with what Shallan did. It's the coming over that messed up Pattern's memory. Because Wendell went through more or less the same thing, even though his was less severe.
Syl also did.
Yeah,
He talks about it specifically, like, my people made preparations to prevent this, but it was still traumatic. That's why I was the way I was when I first showed up, and I was able to recover so fast. Pattern just jumped off the edge. He's like,
I don't know if we know that.
this one needs me.
I don't know if we know that.
I think she forced him back into existence.
I only bring it up because it's confusing and it makes me hate Truth Weavers. Out of all of the Light Weavers, out of all of the different orders.
Because they weave their own truths.
Well, it's just, I hate the way they work. Why are they special? Why are they different?
Maybe that's part of why the 10 heartbeat thing changed for her.
It changed for Kaladin too.
Part of her memory, part of her memory is that if you're bonded correctly, you can just instantly summon it.
Well, that's another thing that's just aggravating to me is it's not like she's remembering that. It's
Maybe
just like
she did, and we just didn't get
it's
that
not
piece.
presented that way because she's like, even in the first book, she's like getting these memories and she's like, nope, I'm not thinking about it.
It's a bad.
It's so aggravating.
It's a frustrating writing conceit.
This is me critiquing the book. Like, I dislike this part of the world building. I hate the way it's done. And I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb that these in particular are different and it's not explained in a satisfying way to me.
I think it's just Shallan.
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
I guess
it's just Shallan because Shallan is
our Lightweaver.
Is our Lightweaver character, but other Lightweavers have to go through the same things. Like, they don't swear ideals in the same way that the other 9 orders do. And it's odd that there's just this one exception. Though I suppose you could probably find an exception in all of the orders to some degree.
It seems like
that's weird about them.
The cryptics are less about lies and are more about revealing truth.
Yeah, that like
It definitely
saying Lysbrin is a slur. It seems like.
But so he keeps talking about how, well, before you kill me, I'm going to learn as much as I can from you, and maybe the cryptics are connected in a way. Like, Syl is connected to the Stormfather, right?
She calls him her father.
What if the cryptics are just whatever their god figure is,
they broke up evenly. So all of their minds are connected. So he's like, I'm going to go learn as much as I can. You guys will get all the information, and then I can't come back to tell you because I'll be killed. But that doesn't matter.
But you can't kill a concept.
Well, they've already said how that works.
Huh.
Like, they said they can die. They're still there. Though.
Well, they didn't.
So
They didn't explain how it works. They just said that it does.
yeah, they just straight up said that the thing that we see as a contradiction is not a thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Them being dead doesn't mean they're gone.
So perhaps it makes sense because she, in order to get past what she has done, she is lying to herself about it and bearing the truth.
If you've gotten this far into the video, leave a comment and say how wrong I am.